thought we were really on upward trajectory with the star card. And then I got this, which in the Thoth Tarot deck is called Sorrow. And so I was like, that's cool. Now, but this is the way I understand it. Remember when I said that the last 2 weeks of October and the beginning of November were going to be kind of crazy? Well, this full moon in Aries is part of the reason why, and let's talk about it. My name is Jazz, and today we're going to be discussing this full moon in Aries. It's happening on, when is it happening? October 17th, 2024 at 5:26 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so just for your time zone. And it's going to be happening at 24 degrees of Aries. Now, this full moon in Aries is a culmination point from the solar eclipse that we had in Aries back in April of 2024, April 8th to be exact. So something that started around that time is coming to a culmination point, a peak, a completion. And we're seeing the results of any endeavors that were started during that time. It's also going to have an activation of a Grand Cardinal Cross. And I think this is really a big part of the reason why it's so intense. And it doesn't help that Pluto is activated in this Grand Cardinal Cross, and it's at the anaretic critical degree of 29 degrees, which we've talked about multiple times as being unstable, karmic, and a completion degree. So whenever we have 29 degrees on a full moon, it kind of just adds to this completion. Something is definitely wanting to be finished. It's coming to a peak point, and then from this point forward, it's going to be waning rather than working towards some sort of completion or some sort of peak. So that's kind of where we're at. What is indicated in this Grand Cardinal Cross? Now, a Grand Cardinal Cross, Grand Crosses are relatively rare, and the reason why they're difficult is because it is at least 4 planets that are all intense aspects to each other. So we have Moon and Chiron in Aries at 24 and 21 degrees. We've got Sun and Juno in Libra at 24 degrees opposing. These two are opposing. And Mars in Cancer at 22 degrees is squaring both of them. And Pluto in Capricorn is also squaring both of them and opposing Mars in Cancer. Now, I already did a video on Pluto opposing Mars. This is something that we're going to be dealing with from now. You're going to be feeling it already until 2025. And it's going to be exact. The closest time is November 3rd. I already made a video about that. I'll link that down below. But these two are in and a part of this Grand Cardinal Cross. So really, this isn't that great. I mean, the sun is in its fall in Libra, Chiron in Aries, and Moon. I mean, the only thing that we have that's a little bit helpful is that Moon and Mars are in mutual reception, meaning that they're in each other's domicile. No, but it generally is a mitigating factor, meaning that there is some sort of understanding between the two right now. So that's really important because the full moon is in Aries, and the ruler of Aries is Mars. So the ruling planet for this full moon has some mutual perception, which is good. We like to see that. The people who are going to be most affected by this are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Now, of course, Aries, you guys are really going to be affected by this because the full moon is in your sign. For Cancers as well, because you guys are ruled by the moon, all full moons are kind of big for you. And also the ruler of the moon is in your sign. So that doesn't mean Libra and Capricorns are getting off like a whole lot easier, but at least they're not as indicated, although they are definitely indicated, as you can see here. We'll take a look at a little bit of the human design. We'll talk about the tarot aspects as well. So let's see what the Sabian symbol is for 25 degrees of Aries. Now, we do round up, so if you're wondering why it's 25 degrees versus 24 degrees, that's why. Generally, I read from Diane Roche, but I also really like to look at Dane Rudyard's. So we're going to listen to his, or you're going to listen to it. I'm going to read it. And read his first, and then I'll take some parts of hers as well. Aries 25 degrees. The possibility for man to gain experience at two levels of being. The keynote is the revelation of new potentialities. In some unspecified way, the symbol is a guarantee that man can operate successfully at 2 levels of consciousness. If he has previously met the condition mentioned in the preceding symbol, be open, be able and willing to shape your translucent mind in the form revealing spiritual fulfillment, and you will be able to experience life and power on inner as well as outer planes. The implied message is one of faith. Man can only truly experience what he deeply believes he can experience. This announces the possibility of a new step in evolution, but it is only a possibility, a promise. So let's look at the preceding symbol that he says must be that condition must be met before being able to operate successfully at the 2 levels of consciousness that 25 degrees of Aries gives us. So 24 degrees of Aries is called blown inward by the wind. The curtains of an open window take the shape of a cornucopia. The keynote is openness to the influx of spiritual energies. I'm going to read just parts of it. As the window curtains are blown inward, the individual consciousness represented by the house in which the wind is blowing into is receiving a more concentrated influx of spiritual energies, enabling this consciousness to extend its scope of awareness and creative expression. This message, applying to the 4th stage of the 5-fold sequence, is that inner growth demands not just an open mind, but one able to provide a container for spiritual harvest. I just want to tell you guys, I didn't plan on reading the 24 degrees Aries. I just made the decision to do it right now. And this is crazy because I'm thinking about the tarot cards that I got and the human design chart that I looked at, and it's very much amplifying those messages. The cornucopian shape of the window curtains suggests that the subtler translucent aspect of the mind has acquired a plastic quality, enabling it to be molded by transpersonal forces. So basically what Dane Rudyard is saying is that in order for us to be able to have the possibility to gain experience at 2 levels of being and being able to, for me, this feels like integration, because when you experience something, for yourself, it really can bridge a gap between awareness and action in your life. But he's saying that the way to be able to get there is to be open, to be able and willing to shape your mind in the form revealing spiritual fulfillment so that you can experience life and power on inner as well as outer planes. The implied message is one of faith. So the human design aspect of this chart, now when I do a human design, when I do anything, obviously I have the knowledge and the skills to interpret charts. But the first thing that happens for me is a very quick scan and an intuitive hit. The mind for me comes later. And if you saw my human design chart, you'd understand why. You'd see very clearly that that's really how I operate. And the feeling that I got was that we are collectively, when I saw that, it made me feel like collectively we are in this position where our mind is really taking over the process. And in human design, as well as many other frameworks that I follow, like even just Buddhism and meditation, we recognize very deeply that the mind is extremely powerful. And we also recognize that it's not meant to be the place of authority for us, right? The mind is very malleable and it really just does its own thing. And in human design, we talk about how the mind is meant to help others rather than to help ourselves. But we spend so much time trying to use the mind as our authority by making pros and cons lists and thinking, okay, well, this makes sense, so we're going to do it this way. But the truth of the matter is we all have an inner authority based off of human design, yes. But even beyond human design, we have this sense of authority that is God-given or universe-given, whatever, that goes beyond any framework, right? It goes beyond astrology, it goes beyond human design, it goes beyond tarot, and all of these things are just tools for us to be able to access that. And during this time, I feel like it's very important to recognize that our minds are very strong right now. And so we're going to be feeling like it's very easy for us to try to be mental in nature and think about what we want to do. And this is very future oriented, by the way. So we may be thinking like, this is what I need to do. This is what needs to get done. This is how I'm going to do it. What it's more focused on what am I going to do? Okay. Not how I'm going to do it, but what am I going to do? And the problem that arises when we're too into the mind, among many, is that there becomes a disconnection with the body. We know that the body is a great messenger, right? Like I always talk about how I've dealt with a lot of chronic illness issues and really have found all the answers that I needed by listening to this, listening to my emotions, connecting deeper with my body. And so we're seeing this rise of these somatic practices because we have really like let our minds go wild. I talk about this a lot in one of my human design videos. I can't remember which one. If I think of it, I'll link it down below or I'll put a card up on the screen here. But where I talk about how the mind was really helpful for us when, in the beginning of this global cycle that we're currently in the 16 and 1700s, where we were learning how to do things, and the Industrial Revolution was important for us to kind of gain a lot of new inventions and to have this sort of intelligence to make our lives more efficient or whatever. And at some certain point there was a peak, and then ever since then it's been kind of, the mind has become sort of destructive in nature. And I'm not saying during that time it was for the best for the planet. No, probably not. The Industrial Revolution was probably good for humans, not great for the planet. But it's become more and more destructive force in our lives because of the disconnect to the body. And so what I could see happening for a lot of people around this full moon is being so in the mind and so disconnected from the body that there is a rising pressure to take impulsive action, and we move towards that without feeling through the actual emotions. So I'm going to give you guys some advice on the other side later about how we can best move through this. But right now I just want to talk about the energies. So what I also felt like this is most likely going to be rooted in anger and frustration of not feeling like you can do what you want to do. So it's like the mind has these ideas about, I want to do this, this, and this in the future. This is what I want to do. And then you're being imposed a restriction, the Grand Cross. There's a restriction either internally or externally. And so you're going to probably feel, I said possible, but it's probable, you're going to feel angry because when we have a Grand Cross with all of this like fire, Aries, Mars, and Cancer, these are very like pressure filled and prone to volatile placements. And then not to mention, like I said, all the aspects of the squares, the Grand Cross. So it feels like many of us are going to feel restricted. We're going to have this idea and then we're going to want to move through with it. And if anything comes in our way, we're going to feel this pressure building up to take impulsive action out of anger. And the thing with anger is, and I always say this as a person, I have Mars in Leo in my first house. So anger has truly been a journey for me. And this is why I'm telling you this because so you can understand that like I have a lot of personal experience with having to accept anger. The thing with anger is that very often, I would say almost always, like I said, I don't like using always and never because life isn't that black and white, but almost always underlying anger is grief. So let's say, for example, you're angry that you didn't get something that you wanted, right? This is the kind of energy, we're going to be feeling frustrated, like something is restricting us, and then we're going to have all this anger building up. And the thing is, we don't want to suppress the anger, right? We need to deal with the anger, but acting on it impulsively is probably not going to get us the best results. So what we can do instead is listen to the anger, feel the anger, and what you'll most likely find, like I said, is that grief is actually underneath it. We don't get something that we want. Let's say you've been wanting a job and they've been kind of like, dragging you along, and then you feel a sense of restriction, or you don't get the job, or it's looking like you're not gonna get the job, and then you decide that I'm gonna take impulsive action, and you send him an angry email. And remember, like, Mars is retrograde right now, so these energies have a tendency to come back. Or I'm sorry, Mars is not retrograde, it's in its shadow period to turn retrograde. So what happens when we have Mars in shadow, it means like, hey, the story may not be done yet. And so if you're having these impulses come up and you're acting irrationally, and not just listening to yourself and seeing yourself and being with the anger, you might lose something that you may have not had to lose, okay? I went on a different track there, but what I was trying to say is that when we're feeling this anger of like, why did you not like give me this job? Why am I not getting this job? The longer that we sit with that anger, we recognize that there's a part of us that really freaking wanted that job, and we didn't get it, or it looks like we're not going to get it. And there's sadness there. There's grief. There's a perceived loss because we had these ideas and hopes for the future, and it didn't go as planned. And so the more we give ourselves time to address those things before taking impulsive action, the more it's not even about like losing the opportunity, okay? I don't even focus on those things because personally, I really do believe there is some sort of higher order that may seem super chaotic to us, but it's because as humans, we just don't have the ability to know this higher order of nature. I'm rooted deeply in like, things don't work out, there must be a reason why. I may not understand it ever, but that's just how I work. I know not everyone's like that. So it's not even about losing an opportunity. Like, I don't want you to come at this from fear of like, oh no, I can't take action because I don't want to lose the opportunity. It's always about alignment. That's what we are trying to achieve, is greater self-awareness, greater alignment with who we really are. And so the more that we attune with that, the more likely it is going to be that over time, we're going to achieve greater and greater alignment, right? One of the things that we talk about in Vipassana, at least meditation, is that we are not trying to become enlightened. All we are doing is trying to allow the causes and conditions in our lives for enlightenment to happen. And so this kind of reminds me of what Dane was saying with the 24 degrees of Aries, is that inner growth demands not just an open mind, but one able to provide a container for a spiritual harvest. And that to me is speaking toward how much capability have we built to have a container to allow the things that we want to come to us. Brute force and action. Okay, let me say, action is important, very important, right? Like, we can't lose that part of it. We have to take right action. And brute force sometimes is not indicated, right? So if something is not going your way, once again, remember, the ruler of this moon is in its pre-shadow. So things that are being brought up and are frustrating right now, you're going to have 2 more opportunities to possibly deal with them. So number 1, be easy on yourself, okay? But also recognize that, like, what may seem like the end of something, or what may seem like, oh my God, I need to figure this out right now. And you may in your mind have very real concrete reasons as to why you need to figure it out right now. Like, no, there's an actual deadline, Jazz. Like, I actually have a deadline. And I get that. Or like, you know, this needs to be done by this time because I have this, and this happening. I get that. And it may be the end. I'm not, predictions are possibilities. So, multiple possibilities exist at the same time. And one of those possibilities is that it can come back around. So we want to do our best to sit with our own emotions before acting. I want to talk, the human design chart. I want to see if there's anything else I want to say about it. No, I think that's it. Okay. The tarot. I got, when I was thinking about the energies of what we're feeling here. Oh, I have one more thing I want to say. Now, because this full moon in Aries is a culmination point to the solar eclipse, if there has been something brewing since April of this year, something you've been working toward, and you have an opportunity to take action during this full moon, that's different than like something recently being brought up into your psyche and you having this desire to take impulsive action based off really heightened emotions. That's different. There's a different feeling in the body with that, right? Like if there's something that you've been working toward and you get this desire to take impulsive action, there's a centeredness to your emotions, right? It's like you've already gone through the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys, felt the anger, like frustration, and now you're coming to a point of like some more stillness. And if an opportunity presents itself, you can take action from that place of stillness. The key is that we want to achieve as much stillness as possible before moving forward, right? And within a certain time frame, because we can, if we say, oh, I want to achieve a certain, we don't want to avoid the issue either. That's another negative manifestation of this, is to just completely fall into the sun and Juno and Libra and avoid the situation altogether and use the mind to get away from it and repress our anger. That's another negative manifestation. We don't want to do that either, because in both scenarios, we're ignoring the body. We're ignoring the emotions that need to be felt in order to take action. Now, I do believe that all of this is still very, very relationally oriented, like I talked about in my Pluto opposite Mars video. Not just because Sun and Juno are in Libra, but because of the multiple oppositions that we have going here. And also the nodes are still in Aries and Libra, which is self and the other. So it just feels like this is still really about how we're interacting with other people, the give and take that we have with other people, how we approach conflict with other people. This is just going to be a heightened time for us to be able to deal with this, right? And to learn from it and experience it. How does it feel in my body when I have so much pressure and I feel so agitated and it feels like everything is falling apart or nothing is going my way? But one of the things that's really cool about meditation is that you get to sit for long periods of time and you see, like, sometimes you'll have an itch and it'll be like, I'm like, oh my God, this itch is so bad. I need to itch it. I need to itch it right now. It's never going to go away. Oh my God, I can't think about anything else. I'm going crazy. Like, literally, I will go there. And then like a minute later, I'll just be like, wait a minute, what happened to that itch? And when you experience that like over and over again, you start getting to this point where you're like, oh, maybe things do just come and go. You start recognizing like how often we just kind of think that that feeling is forever. And some feelings last a lot longer than other people, especially if you're, if in human design you have a defined emotional center. Yeah, you're gonna definitely feel those emotions a lot more often, right? A lot more consistently. Okay, I think that's it. So we can go to the tarot now. So for the energy, I got the Five of Pentacles and the Page of Cups. And this is the Thoth tarot deck. And so this is, the Five of Pentacles is called Worry here. And with the Page of Cups, this really brought me back to having an open mind. Because the cups are creativity and romance. So yes, many of us may be getting some sort of message about a creative idea, about a creative project. So if you're doing a creative project or you're wanting to do a creative project, you may get some news around this full moon, a few days before, a few days after. Obviously this full moon lasts for 6 months, but generally when I get it's talking about this actual, around this time. So you may get a message about a creative idea, a creative project. You may also get a message from a love interest, things like that, or a romantic message of some sort, alluding to love in some way. You could be really worried that there is no love in your life, that there is no creativity in your life, that your love and creative life are not going the way that you want. But the Page of Cups is really about being open creatively, being open to what is coming up within you. And this goes back to what 25 degrees of Aries said, is that in order for us to be able to operate successfully at 2 levels of consciousness, you have to, in order to even have that possibility, there's a necessity to be open, to be able and willing to shape your translucent mind in the form revealing spiritual fulfillment. So the 2 levels of consciousness that I believe he's talking about, which he says is, you know, the experience life and power on the inner as well as outer planes. And if you know me, you know that I believe that it needs to be achieved on the inner plane first, generally. So I feel like this worry that in the Pentacles is the Five of Pentacles is telling me that a lot of people are feeling kind of what I was saying about the human design. Like they're feeling like they're not getting the support that they need. And this could be financial in nature. It could be because the Pentacles rule the material world. So we're talking more about people. We're talking more about physical support in some way. So you're feeling like you literally don't have people around you that support you. You're feeling like you're financially not supported. Your career's not supporting you. You don't have enough money or resources. And so this is maybe a very valid concern. And so I don't want to say that, you know, you shouldn't be worried. Because it's in the sign, it's in the suit of Pentacles, it makes me feel like there is something actually happening in your life that you're not happy about, that you're either worried about it in the future, that if it's going to pan out or not, or you're already feeling that it's not working out the way that you wanted. And the Page of Cups is asking you to have an open mind and be open to the possibilities that could be coming up during this time. And if we are like this, like in our minds and just going crazy, we can't be open. Our minds can't be open. If we made up our minds already, they can't be open, right? And if we're not creating the causes and conditions for new ideas to come to us through sitting in stillness, in whatever way that is for you, right? Like for me, I really believe like sitting in meditation is really, really important. For some people, I completely understand that's not doable. And so they need to do walking meditations, or they're like, oh, I meditate while I do certain actions or something. Stillness is the key, in my opinion. And that allows there to be some sort of openness. And obviously also letting go of preconceived notions that things have to be a certain way. And that if they're not, then, you know, the world's going to fall apart. Because sometimes it really does feel like that. And like I said, you may have valid things to support that right now, but I also want you to recognize how many times in your life you've felt that way and you've still found a way through. And you're still here today. And could this situation be another one of those instances? Maybe, maybe not. So as I was meditating on these cards, I then got, it was so crazy. I was walking around and I was like, I feel like people are lacking inspiration and faith. I feel like there is a fixedness, there is a closed offness. And, right before this, Mercury is going to be squaring Pluto just a few days before this. And so that is very much like a rigid mind. And, power struggles within the mind, or wanting to really understand something, really get to the depth of something. And it's a hard aspect. So, that's going to be happening right before this, and people are I would advise that people try to bring in some sense of inspiration and faith. And so that was really interesting, because as I was thinking, I swear to God, you guys, I was walking around. I tend to pace when I'm thinking about stuff. And I was pacing and I saw the star on the floor. And I hadn't seen it when I had shuffled the cards. And so I was like, wow, that is an indicator to me that the faith aspect is huge right now. That there needs to be a cultivation of hope, faith, and for me, my intuition says inspiration. I keep hearing inspiration. That we're feeling, because when you get super rigid in ideas, there's no room for wonder. There's no room for inspiration of how else it could be. There's no room for this hope. We're like, nope, this is the way it has to be. This is the way it's got to go. And so then we just kind of get closed off. And in some ways, having that closed offness is helpful. And like I said, because the mind can help other people. So when you are in that space, you can use it to help other people who come to you for help. But for your own life, it's not really helpful. And remember, in the 25 degrees of Aries, Dane says the implied message is one of faith. So yeah, it just reaffirms a star card. So then I decided to look at the bottom of the deck, and it was the Three of Swords, which was very interesting because I thought we were really on upward trajectory with the star card, and then I got this, which in the Thoth tarot deck is called Sorrow, and so I was like, that's cool. Now, but this is the way I understand it, okay? Because this kind of brings me back to the moon Chiron and Aries. The Chiron activation here. It tells me that, like, everything I just said about having faith and having inspiration, having hope, for a lot of you guys, there is an inherent pain around that. You've been betrayed by that message before. You don't believe it when I tell you. So that's gonna be the hard part, right? This just reminds me of something else I wanted to say. When you have a really hard configuration like this, or really any difficult configuration, there are certain planets that we can look to that are aspecting nicely. And so the first one that I saw in the chart, in order to give us a way out, right? The first one that I saw was Jupiter in Gemini. So ways to work through the difficult energies. And I put them in order, but then I took the numbers out because I was like, well, whatever. But I do feel like the best way is Jupiter. And because Jupiter is both trining the Sun and Juno in Libra and sextiling Moon and Chiron in Aries, so I feel like the best way is this Jupiter. But Jupiter is in detriment. Jupiter is in detriment. So what that tells me is that this faith and optimism that we need, we're going to have to cultivate it. It's not going to feel supernatural to us right now. It's not going to feel like naturally optimistic and faithful and hopeful. It's like, no, you're going to have to decide to be that way, to feel that way. And because, like, I got the Three of Swords, it makes me feel like, once again, that there is a pain. There is a pain around that, and I totally understand that because I get that. Trust me, I get that. I think all of us have been betrayed at times in our lives by feeling hopeful and then it not going the way that it should. And so this is once again the mind betraying us because it's made us believe that things have to happen a certain way. And when we look at it from a frame of experience, rather than a frame of like, it needs to happen in this way. And instead we can look and say, wow, I learned so much from that experience, even though it didn't go as planned. I'm so grateful that I had that experience so that now I am smarter about this for the next time. And there's pain in that. There's grief in that. Like I said, you have to feel the grief of the loss. It sucks. This happened to me yesterday where I was just like, I had a situation that's been ongoing for a really long time, years. And I, got some information that made me feel really sad about it. And I was so freaking mad. And I was sitting there and I sat with the anger and very, very fast, because I've done this so many times now, it's like the anger subsided into this grief of all the years that I've lost, all the time and energy and money that I've spent towards this that have put me in a worse situation than I was before. And all I could do in that moment was cultivate some sort of faith and optimism that, hey, I'm gonna try to take some action towards this. And obviously I want it to work out in my favor, obviously, right? But I also have to recognize that if it doesn't, like, all I can do is take it as a learning experience and try my best to do better next time. We really have to be easier on ourselves, and myself included, right? The other thing that's happening is Neptune is trining the Mars. So faith and optimism, I think, cultivating that yourself is probably the best way to work through this difficult energy. Transcendence may be another. Now, transcendence is difficult because it's not something that we can generally demand. Like, it's not on demand. It's one of those things where, once again, we have to create the causes and conditions for transcendence. So to me, this is, you could do like psychedelics, you could do meditation. That's where I always lean towards. I feel like meditation is just fantastic at integrating a lot of things. But you know, if you have some sort of spiritual belief system or a belief in a religion or something that can allow you to use transcendence of your mundane issues into something more spiritual, I feel like these two are very connected in a way though, right? Like, because to me, faith is not inherently spiritual, but many of you who are watching this video do have some sort of spiritual beliefs. So I feel like they can go together, but yeah, transcendence, like rising above and remembering our union with something greater than us as a way to overcome these mundane issues. And last but not least, Pluto, transformation, surrender transformation. Now, in the Grand Cross activation, Pluto is the loosest of connections, right? The other ones are 22 or 21 to 24 degrees, and Pluto's 29 degrees. So it is still within orb to make a Grand Cross. Because of the loose association and because the fact that Pluto is at 29 degrees for the last time in our lives in the sign of Capricorn, and it's going to be moving out of this part of our chart in November 19th of 2024, if we can allow ourselves to surrender to the transformation that is trying to occur, this is kind of like Neptune and Pluto put together, the transcendence, but you're transcending in order to transform, not in order to rise above or to feel a sense of unification, but to recognize that what is happening right now is very much rooted in transforming you at a very, very deep level. And it's a part of a bigger story that's been working through you since 2008. And if you need more help on what that part of your chart is, listen to the Pluto opposing Mars video that I did, because I go in depth about Pluto in that part of your house, and you know, it is going to be opposing Mars here, so it's very relevant to this. But if you listen to that video, it might give you some clues as to what the transformation is that's trying to occur in your life that is being brought to you by this full moon. So that's another really great way to work through the difficult energies. When you're in a state of heightened emotions, ask yourself, can I wait 24 hours before acting? And I say 24 hours is kind of arbitrary, but for major decisions during this time, I think 12 to 24 hours should be good enough. We just want to give ourselves enough time to really get out of this pressure-filled state. And it may sound like a really long time for some people, but it is hard. We live in a world where people want answers now. Like, it's gonna happen right now. And the emotional authority is not about that. There's no truth in the now, is the saying for that. So when you are in a state of heightened emotions, ask yourself, can I wait 24 hours before acting? Very rarely are we put in situations in which immediate action has to happen or something horrific will happen, right? Like dangerous. Now, obviously that's precluded in this because, yeah, we need to make those decisions. But if you are getting this impulsive desire to end a friendship because you're just I'm done with this. Listen, in 24 hours, if you really feel that way, in 24 hours, I don't think that's going to change, right? If it's something that's been ongoing since April and you're this friend has just screwed me over again and again, so why not just wait? Why not just wait it out? But especially because any full moon in general is not a time for us generally to make decisions, right? It's the culmination, it's the peak, it's when something is being illuminated to us. So in order to achieve better alignment, it's maybe just better to always around full moons, wait until the moon is waning for a minute. That's why I say 24 hours. That's my advice. Take it or leave it, right? I think that's all I have to say. I know I said a lot, but this is a big full moon. It's an important full moon, and it's cool to understand the different aspects of this full moon and how some of them bring in new information and some of them really just reaffirm certain messages. So the next step is we will be doing I will be going through the all signs, and you can listen to your sun, moon, or rising to get a better understanding of where in your life this may be affecting you. All right, so make sure you like this video, subscribe if you like this video, and let me know your experience with what I've talked about here and how you feel about the advice I've given and if you're already feeling these intense energies coming up. All right, I'll see you guys soon. All right, so for Aries, sun, moon, and rising, this full moon is in your sign.
which means that it's activating your angular houses, which the angular houses are the foundations of your life. So you, as well as Libra, since the nodes moved into your sign in July of 2023, or maybe since April of 2023 when we had the first eclipse, the solar eclipse in Aries, your entire life is changing. And it's a little bit different than for Libras. For you guys, the emphasis has been on you and you heading in a new direction, you doing what you need to do and really focusing on yourself. Now, because the full moon is happening in your sign, it means the Sun and Juno are in your 7th, and you've got Mars and Cancer in your 4th, and Pluto finishing up its stay in Capricorn. I did a video on Mars and Cancer and Pluto opposing Mars. I'll have those linked below. So if you need a refresher on what those, because those are all going to be very relevant to this time and for many months ahead. Now, this full moon is a culmination point from the solar eclipse that we had in April 8th, 2024. So 6 months ago. So something that you were doing to change your direction in life may actually be coming to a peak at this point, maybe coming to a conclusion or some sort of you're seeing some sort of results from that. So think back to April of this year. Was there a new beginning that you had in mind for yourself? Was there a new identity you wanted for yourself? Was there a new way of appearing to the world that you wanted, a new attitude that you wanted to embody in your life? And how far have you come since then? With this full moon, there is some tension and there is some desire to take action, which is great, right? When Mars is involved in the lunation, it can give us courage, which is really beautiful. If you've been in a rut and you feel like, you need something to kick your butt and to get your life into gear, that's great. Just make sure that we're aligning before taking action. Mars doesn't go retrograde for another month and a half. So we have time still. I mean, we're already in the shadow period. So we still have time to take some action. It doesn't have to be on this full moon, right? Like, I just don't, everybody's different. But in my opinion, full moons are a time of reflection and release. Because the energy and the emotions are so high, specifically with the Grand Cardinal Cross. Now, if you haven't listened to the first part of this video, I highly recommend you do that because I went very in depth. And for you guys, Aries, you know that it's very important for you to listen to the first part of the video because, yeah, it's definitely very true for you generally, if it resonates. So I just want to get some tarot to see what aspects of this full moon are going to be most strongly felt by you. The universe, the world. This is a Thoth tarot deck. See, this makes perfect sense to me because this journey that you've been on since last year, which is culminating really with the next solar eclipse that's happening in your guys' sign in March of next year. You guys are really ending a complete cycle right now. If there has been a cycle in your life, either if it was good or negative, Mars is giving you the courage to really end this cycle for good right now. You guys have so much power right now. And I think I talked about this in the Pluto opposite Mars video that I did for you guys, that when you have Mars in the 4th, it can feel very difficult. And if you can use that energy as emotional strength, when we put our emotions behind something, energy in motion, right? Emotions, energy in motion, it can completely change. I mean, if we take action without emotion being backed by it, it can do awesome. It can do great. But the power of emotions is, it's really big. And so you guys are getting this power of emotion, and it can be destructive, yes, and it may have to be destructive because something is ending for you guys. A whole cycle is ending for you guys. And generally, I don't get this card unless there's stuff happening in your 12th house, which, I mean, there is. You have Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house, and Neptune's going to be leaving your 12th house next year. Saturn's going to be leaving your 12th house next year, and they're going to be going into your sign. But even with this full moon, you are getting an opportunity to move into a completely new cycle in your life, and to use the Martian forces to push yourself into making decisions, maybe not on the full moon, but after the full moon. You get some information, or you recognize something, and then you can take action towards it. You're getting immense strength to move out of any cycles in your life that you just either don't want anymore, or that are over, and you're ready to really have this new beginning. It feels like for a lot of Aries, there was a desire to have a fresh start back in April, and maybe now you're recognizing that this is the moment where you can actually begin to have that fresh start. Or, it's happening now, and you're looking and you're seeing, wow, yeah, I can see how I desired to make it happen back then, and now it's really coming to fruition for me. Let's see if we have any advice for my Aries, sun, moon, and rising. This full moon is obviously going to be very relationally oriented. So specifically for you guys, because you have the 7th house activated with the sun and Juno there. So you may be feeling like this new beginning, it may involve a relationship of some sort, whether that's business, romantic, friendship, or it may be that there is a new beginning within a relationship, or a new beginning away from a relationship, but it is very relationally oriented. And one of the things I want to say is, you guys are Aries, and so you're pretty familiar with Martian energy. It kind of rules your life, and you still have the possibility of falling into the trap of what's happening with this Grand Cardinal Cross, which I talked about a lot in the beginning of the video, really pressuring you or making you feel like you are being restricted, or maybe like, you're recognizing that this new fresh start is this new beginning for you is really wanting to happen, but you're feeling restricted. You're feeling opposition. You're feeling like either some sort of circumstance is pressuring you, or people are pressuring you, and you're feeling like you're gonna just blow up, like you just can't take it anymore. And so during this full moon, like I talked about, it's just important to find alignment before we take action, so we're not exploding. And if you explode, generally not the end of the world, and as long as you can take it as a learning experience, that's really all that matters. But I do feel like, and that's kind of what I'm feeling, the 3 of Cups, abundance. If you can work with people, if you can try to be more cooperative during this time, this makes me think of one of the Sabian Symbol for 25 degrees Aries, which Diane Roche talks about it being a really cooperative in nature. We read Dane Rudyard's version earlier in the first part of the video, but this is I'm thinking of Diane Roche's interpretation, and she talked about how it was really about duality and cooperation. And as much as I love you guys, Aries, you're meant to be about the self in a way, right? You're meant to be about you. And so sometimes that can lead to not so much of a cooperative, unless you have 25 degrees or 24 degrees Aries in your chart. This is indicating to me that yes, people and circumstances are challenging you, and your best bet is to try to be as cooperative as possible during this time. I don't know if it's my allergies or what's going on, but it is very congested in here. All right, so I'm having crazy allergies. I had to go blow my nose, but I came back and I was shuffling, and I got the 10 of Swords and the Chariot. And that's really interesting. The 10 of Swords makes me feel like, how I was saying before, that there may be like a new beginning. I feel like this new beginning is wrought with some sort of distress, or you hit a block or something. Because the Ten of Swords, once again, it's a 10. So it means like you're almost there. You're at the end and a new dawn is beginning. And when I think about this card in the Rider-Waite Tarot, it's, 10 swords in somebody's back. So there's a feeling of intense betrayal and feeling like you have just been, man, this energy is really interesting for Aries. I don't normally feel this energy. You have just been going through it. You've been going through a really tough time recently. And this is like, the swords to me is very much, the card is called Ruin in this tarot deck, but this card to me is very much like mental agony. Your thoughts are betraying you, but what the thing is that this is the end of this cycle. So when I get this and the Universe card, it's telling me that, it very much is, something is coming to a completion in your life. And the way through this last period that is difficult or restricting, or you're feeling opposition, is truly the Chariot. And the Chariot is about will. It's about determination. This is also sometimes like travel. So maybe you need to get to see a different scenery in order to really get perspective on your current situation. But to me, this card is really about will and determination. And when I know that you guys have all this Martian energy right now, it's telling me that this is available. This is just amplifying what I was saying earlier, that this is very much available to you. And even if you're feeling weak, and even if you're feeling like you're in a bad spot and you can't do it anymore, you can. You really can. And I think during this full moon, something's going to be illuminated for you that is going to help you understand what you need to do in order to push through it. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, is determination of getting it done and having this desire to do what you need to do. And also in that process, how can you be a little bit more cooperative? You don't have to have this brute force or bulldoze through somebody in order to be determined and willful and use your will to shape your destiny. You can still be cooperative in nature. It's so interesting because the Libra aspect is, or the Librans that I have experienced in the past year and a half, feel like they are just being bulldozed. And Aries is, because they have the South Node in their sign, and of course they have certain tendencies, and Aries may be feeling, many of you guys may be feeling the opposite, like, you know what you want and you've been achieving it, and maybe like a little bit of the cooperation has been lost. And so for them, it's like my advice would be different. But for you guys, and the cards are saying this too, it's like, just keep this in mind when you're using that will and determination to change your situation. Is there anything else I want to say? No, I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pluto, this for you guys is really affecting you on a foundational level. Yourself, your body, your home life, your family life, your relationships, your career. All of these things are either in flux or are rapidly changing or are desiring to change right now. And with Pluto at the 29th degree in your 10th house, it's telling me that there is a transformation that's needing to occur for you in career and public life. And I talk about this in the Pluto-Mars opposition more, so video that I did more, but it's making me feel like all of this is somehow tied to not just your career, but who you want to be in the world, who you want people to see you as, your legacy, your public status, your reputation. All of this is kind of tied in. Whatever issues you're having is, if you really sit with it, there is a core of that aspect in play here. I feel like I could say a lot for you guys, Aries. So yeah, let me know how this resonates for you. Make sure to like and subscribe this video, or subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. All right, so for my Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, This full moon is happening in your 12th house, and it's making a Grand Cardinal Cross from your 12th, 3rd, 6th, and 9th. So your cadent houses. Now, the 12th house is a place of seclusion, healing, meditation, solitude, overseas travel. It's a house of healing and closure. And sorry, I got distracted. I don't know why I pulled that card when I did. It was like in the middle of while I was talking. So interesting. So you may be illuminated to something about your subconscious beliefs, because this is also the house of your subconscious beliefs, things that are invisible to you, like those subconscious beliefs, things that are not readily available to you all the time. So when we have a full moon here and the moon is illuminated in this part of your chart, it's saying the sun is really kind of shining something that you need to see. And this may be helping you get through any issues that you're having, any conflict that you're having with other people. Because when I look at the 3, 6, and 9th house being indicated, the 3rd and the 6th house specifically, there could be health issues, there could be legal issues or litigation issues, there could be conflicts with people around you. The 3rd house is a very all-encompassing house. It's your immediate environment, the bubble that you live in. So it can really mean so many things. But we talked about this in the Pluto-Mars opposition video that I did. I'll have that link below. That, there is definitely some challenges. There are obstacles currently in your current life. And the 6th house is also like your daily routines and your health and your pets. And so it may be feeling, and conflicts and injustice and inequality. So you may be feeling these sorts of emotions coming up. And and then also your 9th house of spiritual belief systems. Also legal matters. So for some Tauruses, there really may be some legal issues that are happening during this time, or that have been happening since April this year, because this full moon is a culmination of the solar eclipse in Aries from April 8th of 2024. So something may be coming to a conclusion, to a culmination, to a peak, fruition right now. And then you, and this is a very Martian full moon. So you may be illuminated to something and then have to take action towards, be courageous enough to take an action towards a new way of doing something. Now, this may feel a little bit harder than I'm making it seem, because the Grand Cross inherently has a feeling of restriction, and that there's no way out. It makes you feel like there's no way out of this. Specifically for you guys, because it's happening in your 12th house, though, I feel like something is going to come up for you that is going to be an answer that you weren't even expecting. This could come to you in a dream. This could come to you during meditation. This could come to you during doing any sort of psyche work. So even if you could be using tarot and astrology. You could be doing hypnosis or psychedelics or something like that, and it could just pop up during this time. I talked about in the beginning part of this video, which if you didn't listen to already, I definitely recommend checking that out, because I went into a lot of detail about the collective meaning of this full moon, and so it's going to be relevant to every sign. But I talked about how, if you do feel like you need to make a decision, just because it's happening in a watery house, in a subconscious house, like an impulse may come up, just give yourself a little bit of time, especially if you know in human design you are a emotional authority. You should always be following this advice, is to, take your time. But even if you don't know any of that and you have no idea, or if you do know and you're not, around this time, I'm really feeling a lot of us are going to be pushed to impulsive action, whether that is action towards moving towards something or communicating something, right? When I say action, to me, communication falls in that, is like being very argumentative. When we have the 6th and the 3rd house come into play here, it just makes me feel like there is a part of you guys that may be feeling like very argumentative, and if you're feeling some sort of injustice in your life, inequality in your relationships, or inequality with the people around you, or like I said, any sort of litigation, or coworkers, even like any sort of injustice or inequality in your relationships, you guys are going to maybe have a desire to like lash out. Now, I talked about this too. It's like, I'm not discouraging taking any sort of action from the information you receive. I'm just saying, just wait. Just give it a little bit of time. Don't follow the impulse. Sit with the impulse, listen to it, and then decide how to best move forward, because emotions are big during full moons. Now, I got the card, the Four of Pentacles, which in this tarot deck is called Power. And to me, it is really about power, and it's making me feel like this is, once again, this is pointing to the inequality and the inequality or the injustice that you're feeling in your life right now. Because this is in the Pentacles, this is making me feel like this is the 6th house that's being highlighted, because the 6th house is the earthy house. Pentacles are earthy, so there may be some sort of desire to, really, this card is about control, and a lot of times it's talking about control in financial terms. So there may be something happening in your life where you're feeling kind of, I need to hold on to the resources that I have because I'm not sure what's going to happen, and or you're just generally feeling like resources are more limited than they've been before. And so when we are feeling like, okay, we need to hold everything in, and actually, Taurus, this is kind of the thing that you guys are very big on self-preservation, which is amazing for in so many ways. And sometimes it's to your detriment, because you invoke this sense of like, I need this power and control in order to feel safe. And this is coming up for you guys right now. Let me see if I can get a little bit of more information or some advice. Actually, why are Taurus feeling this need to maintain or keep everything close to their chest and maintain some sort of power? So I got the Page of Pentacles. So wow, you guys, this is very financially, and this is very much about physical things. So your physical life. So whether that is people in your life, your career, your resources. And with the Page of Pentacles coming up, I feel like the message that you're going to get actually with this full moon from your subconscious has something to do with that, because the Page of Pentacles is, or pages in general, are about messages. I think that there is something new brewing for you when it comes to career, money, finances. I think that you are really excited to start a new journey. And this is telling me that, you know, there are skills that you need to learn for this new journey, and maybe you're already taking advantage of learning new skills. This could be a new business venture that's coming up. And so maybe that's why you're feeling like very this self-preservation, maybe because you know that there's a new journey that you want to embark on, and it may have you financially tight for a while. And so, you know, if that's the way that you're feeling, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. That kind of went to a different direction than I was thinking it would. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that if taken to an extreme, obviously it's a bad thing. Let's hear some advice from my Taurus sun, moon, and rising during this full moon. What is some advice? The Four of Wands. This is really interesting. Completion. The Four of Wands tells me that you are in a position right now where there is some sort of need for celebration. So I wonder, like, you've been so caught up in this, like, preparatory self-preservation state. And, you know, you guys have Venus in the 7th house right now. So this, I do feel like there is, especially if Taurus rising, there is some sort of a relational aspect to this. But the Four of Wands is telling me there's something for celebration, because there is a completion of a phase. Whatever you've been working toward is now coming to a point of somewhat stability. Now, the 4 is not a 10, so it's not a complete completion, but it's saying you've reached a point where you have some sort of foundation of how you want to move forward, and that is call for celebration, because you've had the ideas, you've had the plans and you've put some of it into action, and it's just saying, hey, like maybe things are not exactly where you want them to be right now, but it is still important for you to celebrate how far you have come. And I think the more that you and this could honestly also be that during this full moon, you are going to some sort of celebration. You're going to someone's wedding. You're going to some sort of a family reunion. You're going to some sort of a, some sort of a celebration of some sorts. Maybe it's just going out dancing with your friends or a friend's birthday or something. And I think the more that you lean into that energy and recognize like the balance between like, because that's interesting. You got the 4 of Pentacles and then the 4 of Wands. So 4s are about foundation. And it's making me feel like there's this is very different energies to dealing with setting the foundation, right? There's a feeling of 4 of Pentacles is like, I have to, not hoard, but that's kind of the energy I'm feeling is like, I need to make sure I'm good. I need to make sure I'm good. And this is like, I'm good. Look at how much I've done. Let's celebrate. So it's kind of like a balancing of these two that needs to happen right now. And what I would say is to call upon your belief systems that you've built, your spiritual belief systems that you've built, the philosophy, the meaning and truth journey that you've been on for the last 15 years. Call upon all of that wisdom that you've learned to help you achieve this, because it may be feeling a little bit more difficult than you would like. Let's see if there's any other messages for you guys. The 5 of Swords, and I'm in this tarot deck, it's called Defeat. Yeah, this is really interesting. Taurus, especially my Taurus rising, let me know how you guys are feeling, because I'm feeling like, and I'm not super surprised, because if you listen to the first part of the video, I talked about how a lot of people are feeling not great about the changes that are happening or the restrictions they're feeling as they're trying to make a change. For you guys, you're trying to really change your immediate environment too, and that's just not maybe panning out because there are forces that you feel like are outside of your control, or there are circumstances, or there are people who are getting in the way of you doing what you need to do to change your immediate circumstances. It also, I talked about, it could be like issues with neighbors, siblings, cousins, people around you. But it feels like to me in general, you just want to change your immediate environment, and you're feeling restricted in doing that. This just tells me that there's not really a lot of other messages, because once I start getting repeat messages, in my opinion, I'm like, okay, I got it. Because the 5 of Swords is picking up on the energy I was talking about in the beginning of the reading when I was talking about conflict. There are conflicts, there are disagreements. And a lot of times when the 5 of Swords comes up, it tells me that you are not willing to let it go. And as a fellow, fixed dominant person, you guys are a fixed sign. There is a tendency to want to be right and to want to win. And this card always tells me, choose your battles wisely. And that in itself, and I talked about this in depth in the first part of the video. So if you haven't listened to that, go and listen to that, because I talk about how we can deal with this, especially when it comes to relating to other people. And this card is really, to me, picking up on the Sabian Symbol by Diane Roche, in which she talked about cooperation being really important. I didn't read that in the beginning part. I read somebody else's interpretation, but I also read hers, and this is telling me this is your version, is that there are arguments and conflicts, and you're wanting to come out on top, and just right now, like I said, this doesn't have to be forever. Just right now, it feels like you guys just maybe need to be the bigger person and apologize if you feel like you did something wrong. And if you don't think you did something wrong, just make sure that's actually how you feel. Yeah, also just recognize that maybe you are choosing too many battles to fight, and which ones actually need to be fought right now, right? Yeah, this is just picking up on that 6th house, the competition that I'm feeling, or the struggle, or the conflict, the disagreements that I'm feeling. It's almost like you're not winning in this situation. Even if you win the arguments, it feels like you're still losing. So there's a different way. There's something different that you need to do. All right, Taurus, let me know how that resonated for you guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you guys like this content, and yeah, let me know what you're experiencing during this time. I'll see you guys next time. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. This eclipse is happening in your 11th house of friendships, networks, groups of people that support you, organizations that you're a part of, humanitarian efforts that you're a part of. This is a house of hopes, dreams, desires. Okay, lots of pages today. This is your house of hopes, dream, desires. This is gains from career. So if you started a new venture back in April of this year in regards to your career, you may be actually seeing the fruition of some sort of gain from that, monetary gain from that. Maybe you start a new business, and as we know, businesses take time to generate income generally. And maybe now you're starting to actually see the fruition of the work that you've done. Maybe you're getting your first check, or maybe you're recognizing something else about this new venture that you've gone on. This could also look very much like if you've been having issues with groups that you're a part of, friends groups that you're a part of, any networks or organizations that you're a part of. It could be telling me that it could be that you're illuminated to something, and you see something for what it is now. And any issues that you've been dealing with them since April of this year is now being illuminated to you. Something that you didn't know before is being illuminated for you. Now, in the beginning of the video, I talk a lot about the collective meaning for this full moon, so make sure you listen to that part if you haven't already. And I already did a video on the Pluto-Mars opposition that for you is happening in this 11th, and no, it's not happening in that house. It's happening in your 2nd and 8th house. So make sure you listen to that video too. I'll have that link below because that's going to factor into this, because Pluto and Mars are in an opposition during this time. But what's happening on top of that is that there's a Grand Cross between I talked about in the beginning part of the video. So there's a Grand Cross in your 11th, 2nd, 5th, and 8th house. So these are areas of our lives in which we generally don't love change. And so sometimes it can be hard when there's a Grand Cross in this part of our chart, because we're feeling like we want to hold on to the stability that we've gained, especially as Geminis, just because you're a Gemini, it may not feel as difficult because we are more adaptable and more flexible in nature. But generally, these houses are areas where we seek security, right? So people who support us. The 2nd house, our money, our resources. The 5th house, our sense of self-expression, our creativity, our joy. And the 8th house, which is other people's money, our psyche, intimacy. These are all fixed houses. Now, I did get the Page of Wands for you guys. So the page is always some sort of a messenger. So it could be that you're getting some sort of a message about a new venture that you're deciding to go on. Some sort of inspirational message that you're getting from somebody. Yeah, that to me is kind of picking up on the 5th Libra, Sun Libra in your 5th house. Maybe there's a message about children. Maybe there's a message, wow, your cards are just blowing up here. There's a message that you're getting about children. There's a message that you're getting about creativity. There's a message that you're getting about self-expression and joy. Or maybe because of, I've been talking about this for Geminis, is that there's a desire to also have fun in their lives. Like, if we're too serious and we're making big changes in our lives, but it's also been about having fun. So maybe this is a new idea or a message, or just a new idea that you're having about a new way to have fun in your life. Now, I also got the Hierophant, or the Hierophant. I've been saying names really weird today. I don't know, my allergies are so bad, and I feel like it's just like messing with my brain. It's a good thing I don't really use my brain during astrology and reading, tarot readings, right? This is kind of feeling like what I was saying about these are areas of your life that you generally don't want to lose control over, because the Hierophant is ruled by Taurus, and this is the card of structure. This is the card of how we've always done things. And it feels like what's coming up for you guys during this time, this Grand Cross that's happening between your 11th, 5th, 8th house and your fixed houses is making you have to do things in a different way that you are not comfortable with. And that may be is the most difficult part, is like, because the Grand Cross makes us feel boxed in, like there's no way out, right? And I gave some alternative ways that we can work with these energies more efficiently in the beginning part of the video, in the overview. So I'm not gonna go over it here, but I think the big thing for you guys is that you're needing to do things in a different way, and breaking out of old structures that is making you feel nervous. It's making you, and you're like, I don't even know how to do that, but you know that you need to. And this is an action-packed full moon. And like I said in the beginning, I don't recommend you taking action, right away on this. If an impulse comes up, we never want to really take action from impulse. But if we sit with the impulse and we're like, wow, yeah, this is giving me a really different perspective, and Gemini loves different perspectives. This is giving me a different perspective, and now I'm feeling like I recognize I need to do things differently. And then I got the Hermit. So Gemini, you guys, this is actually pretty big for you guys. I think you guys are the first sign that I've gotten major no, for Aries I did. But Aries, like, of course, it's in their sign. The Hermit is telling me that you're actually, whenever this card comes up, it's actually telling me that you're at a point in your life where you are about to make a different turn. This is what I'm saying. Like, it feels like you've always done things a certain way, and this could be about friendships. This is covering, because the Grand Cross, it's covering a lot. It could be about friendships, networks, groups, organizations. You've always acted a certain way within them. You've expressed yourself a certain way. Maybe you've dimmed your light in those areas, in those networks or friend groups, because you just felt like you had to go along with the group. And this could also be financial in nature. Maybe you're wanting to venture out and do something. You're inspired to do something differently. And but you're like, I don't know how to do that. And the Hermit, whenever this card comes up, it's telling me that you're at a position where you're ready to do things differently. You're ready for a different way of doing things. But first, you need to go inward. And in the first part of the video, I talked a lot about meditation. And this doesn't have to be meditation for you guys. It just needs to be some sort of going inward, right? It's not about physical hermiting, which generally is the first step to going inward, right? It's hard to do it when you're like at the mall, but it's not just that. It's about a time of introspection. I feel like what I was saying earlier about how you guys know that you have to do something differently, but you don't know how to go about that. The answer is within during this time. This can also mean that there is a mentor, some sort of a spiritual mentor that can help you during this time to figure this out. But this is kind of a big deal for you guys, actually. And really what it comes down to is how you're relating to groups and organizations. It relates to how you are managing your finances, other people's money, other people's finances, intimacy in relationships. But I think I remember when I did the Pluto-Mars video for you guys, it was very like money oriented, I believe. Or was it emotions? I feel like it was money. Yeah, I feel like it was money oriented. So, let me know if I'm wrong though. But yeah, I feel like this is, you're really making a turn in your finances and other people's finances, shared resources. How you show up in groups and networks that you're a part of. Yeah, this is a lot more pivotal than I thought for you guys. This actually is perfect. The Hermit is actually perfect for this full moon, because any sort of creative restlessness that you're having, or any sort of desire to just expand, will be helpful. Now remember, Mars is going to go back and forth into your second house. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to kind of figure out what your values are, what any sort of change in income or resources, any type of like entrepreneurial idea that you want to embark on. it might take a little bit for that to actually get off the ground in the way that you want to. Any of these changes that I've been talking about in this reading, it may take a while for these changes to happen, or it may not, but that's just a possibility. And the Hermit is telling me, like, you know, during this full moon, if impulses come up, if things are getting really heated, because the 8th house is activated for you guys with Pluto in there, and the 8th house is people we have emotional connections with. So, you know, it can definitely get heated, or with your children or with your friends. It's telling me that this is really about introspection, self-reflection, going inward, which is very much what I always recommend for full moons anyways. So it's just reiterating that for you guys, this is very, very important. Let me see if I have any additional things that we need to say to Gemini. Knight of Wands. Wow. Okay, I'm feeling like a lot of you guys are really having a lot of creative ideas right now, or there's a desire to be like free of something, which kind of makes sense with the Grand Cross, and Gemini's energy does not like to be contained. So, you know, I don't know, this feels like the Knight of Wands is the most impulsive knight in my opinion. So this is feeling like there's a creative idea that you really want to embark on. And maybe you're feeling restricted. Maybe the Hierophant is that you're feeling restricted. You know, the wands are about ideas and spiritual enlightenment and creativity. So it's like you're having these emotions of wanting to start something new, or you're feeling, I keep hearing like creative restlessness. And then you're feeling like there are structures being imposed, or there is a person who is very traditional, who is imposing restrictions on you. And that is causing you frustration. That is causing the anger or the frustration, the restriction feeling. And this is the way through. You need to retreat right now. So that just reaffirmed to me, like, wow, there is a lot of fiery energy in you guys right now. There is, and just with such a fiery moon, yeah, this is the best bet for you guys, the Hermit. Okay? All right, guys. So let me know how that resonates. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. So for my Cancers, Cancer Sun, Moon, Rising, this is a big one for you guys. Okay. This is a big one for you guys. Especially if you have anything at the end, like 20 to 29 degrees of Cancer, you are going to be feeling this. And that's not a bad thing, you know. Make sure you guys listen to the first part of the video. I give a long overview of what these energies are manifesting as well as how to best deal with them. So yeah, definitely make sure you check that out. Also, I have a Pluto-Mars opposition video that I did, and that Pluto-Mars opposition is going to be active during this, as well as the Grand Cross that they're a part of. So yeah, make sure you watch that video too. I'll have that link down below. But let's talk about this full moon. This full moon is happening in your 10th house of career. So think back to what was going on in your career, your public status, your reputation, your public life, or anything with a father or father figure, authority figure, like a boss. What was happening back in April? Because right now, something may be coming to a culmination, to a peak. Something may be coming to fruition. Maybe there was a new career that you were wanting to embark on during that time, and now you're getting it. Maybe there was some issues with your boss, and now it's coming to a peak or a culmination of some sort, whether that's positive or negative. And you guys specifically, along with really all of the cardinal signs, but because you guys have Mars in your sign, I feel like you and Aries really are going to be feeling this energy as like, I need to take action right now. And in some ways, Mars in Cancer being activated so strongly in this full moon is great for giving us courage to take action to get out of stagnation. And I also feel like, though, because of the Grand Cross that all these planets are in, you're not going to feel like that's as easy as you want it to be. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel restricted, and that there's opposition outside of you, especially because you guys have Pluto in the 7th house at 29 degrees right now. So this is for you guys, just like Aries, this is very foundational in nature. All areas of your life are being lit up. The foundational areas, yourself, your body, your home, your inner life, your relationships, your career, and public status, public life. Like all of those areas are being lit up, and there could be a lot of restriction or opposition, especially when you have Mars in your sign. It feels like you want to do something and other people are restricting you, or your career is restricting you. There is circumstances outside of you that are restricting yourself, and you got Mars in your sign saying, I want to do this, and you can't quite do it. That can be very frustrating. So all I will say, like I said in the beginning part of the video, is that action can be warranted. Just give yourself time. You don't need to act in the moment impulsively on a full moon. Full moons are generally a time of illumination to something, and then we can reflect on it and release what needs to be released, and then we can take action if we need to, right? And it's just not necessarily a time that I would, especially with all this fire energy, I don't feel like it's warranted right away. Now, as I was shuffling, I got the Two of Pentacles, which in this tarot deck is called Change, and I also got the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords tells me, well, okay, the Two of Pentacles makes me feel like there are definitely some concrete changes that are happening in your life. Your day-to-day is changing. Your day-to-day is changing. And that's great. Like, so the way that your days have looked in the past 6 months, maybe now it's coming to a point where you've decided to change up how you do things. And maybe you're either taking on less things because you've been taking on too much, or maybe you're deciding to take on more things because you're like, my life has been too inactive. I haven't been doing enough things. The Two of Pentacles is also about finding that balance in your daily life. So make sure you're being mindful of like, are you taking on too much, or are you not taking on enough responsibilities during this time? Yeah, look at this imagery. It's so beautiful. I love it. And the Knight of Swords is telling me that there are some ideas that you're having. The Knight of Swords kind of brings in, though, because of this full moon, this lunation, it's making me feel like there is impulsivity in your communication and in your thoughts. That's what I think you guys may need to watch for, because this full moon is kind of prone to confrontations. People are feeling irritable. People are feeling inflammatory, especially when you have Mars in your first house like you guys do. It's very inflammatory physically and mentally, emotionally. The Knight of Swords is like, you have ideas that you want to embark on, or you have very important things that you want to say, but this is a very impulsive card. So this is just showing just be wary of that, because the impulsivity is not probably going to help anyone. And, if it happens, it happens, and we learn from it. But if you can be aware of it, probably better for you and for everyone around you. Yeah, let's see if there's anything else. And now you've got the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is very much like a person who is embodying this earthly realm. And so a lot of times what the Queen of Pentacles tells me is that this is somebody who is very nurturing, like my Cancers, my beautiful Cancers, and also has their own crap figured out, right? And so this to me is more of somebody who encompasses the more watery nature of the feminine as well as the earthy nature of the feminine. So that makes me feel like maybe the emotional, it feels like there's imbalance with you guys, okay? And it could be, like I said, like material and the impulsivity, yes, all of that. But it also feels like one of the imbalances actually that I'm feeling in your material life, the Two of Pentacles, is actually between how you are feeling and your inner world, and how your career is going and your outer world. And it seems like there's an imbalance there. And the Queen of Pentacles is asking for rectification of that. So where if you are focusing too much on your career and not enough on your inner world, this is asking for that to be kind of rectified. But it could also be the opposite, where, wait, what did I just say? This happens a lot when I do readings, because I feel like I just enter a different space. But yeah, so it could be either that you're focusing too much internally and not enough on your career and public life, or you're focusing too much on your public life and not enough on your internal emotions and what's happening. When I think about, though, having... Yeah, I don't know. It could really be either. And you may be feeling like other people are the cause of any issues you're having internally or externally. And I want you to think about that. I just want you to reflect on if it is actually other people, and maybe it is, but what are you going to do about that? You know, like, you can't make other people do anything. So it's really going to have to become some sort of a process that's about you and you taking action towards the life that you want. And I think this full moon is going to illuminate to you what that action needs to be. Let me see if I have any last messages for my Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Yeah, this is so interesting, you guys. Page of Swords. So you may be getting some sort of a message during this full moon. I think it's interesting because I'm getting just pentacles and swords for you guys. And so it's feeling like there is some mental anguish or mental issues, communication issues, communication breakdowns. The swords is like the air element. And then your balance in your career or finances is really feeling big. And so around this full moon, like, I feel like something's going to come up about one of those things. Or there's going to be some sort of message relayed to you about your career. There's going to be some sort of a message relayed to you. It also could be that there is maybe some of your issues in career have to do with communication. Maybe you are recognizing that there's a new way that you have to communicate in order to get yourself across. Now, you know, as a Cancers, I have Venus in Cancer, and South Node in Cancer, and Chiron in Cancer. So, as Cancers, there is a tendency to, because it's just like we're emotional, you know, like we have a lot of emotions and it's like very raw emotion. Sometimes the communication issues arise from that sensitivity. And that doesn't always mean that Cancers are always like, oh my God, I love you so much. It means that sometimes they embody the opposite, the Capricornian way, because, you know, Cancer is a crab. They've got that hard shell on the outside, very soft on the inside. So sometimes actually Cancers can come across really unemotional in communication. And then what hurts is like, that's not a representation of who they actually are on the inside, that soft jelly part, you know? And so then people respond to the outer shell, and then they're left feeling betrayed and victimized because they're like, wait a minute, you know, you're treating me like I'm cold and callous. And it's like, well, maybe, and I'm just saying it, like, it's just a possibility. Maybe when you communicate, you're not bringing across your true self. So this could also be something about that. There's something about communication is holding you back in your life. I don't know, you guys. There's a lot of possibilities, and I'm not surprised because this is affecting your foundational houses. But yeah, Cancers, let me know how that resonates for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my fellow Leo risings and also my Leo suns and moons, how are we doing? This full moon is happening in your 9th house, and it's causing it's a part of a Grand Cardinal Cross with Mars in the 12th, and then Pluto in the 6th, Sun and Juno in the 3rd, and then Moon and Chiron in the 9th. I talked about this in the beginning part of the video. I have it on my whiteboard, and I talked more about the Grand Cross and all these things. So if you didn't listen to the first part of the video, I definitely recommend that you do, because it brings a lot of information that I can't talk about in every single all sign, but that I still find important. So this full moon may be illuminating to you something about a legal matter or something that started regarding your 9th house things back with a solar eclipse in April, may be coming to fruition now. So either something's being illuminated or something is coming to a fruition, or both, possibly. And the ninth house things, what is it? The ninth house is where we find meaning and truth in our lives. It's our philosophy on life. It's wisdom. It's where we have mentors. It is also a legal house. It has to do with law. So any legal matters, specifically because not only do we have the ninth house activated, but Pluto is in the sixth house, which is also a house of conflict and litigation and equality and injustice. But yeah, so the ninth house is also long distance travel. So a lot of Leos, because this third and ninth house has been activated with the eclipses, a lot of us may have changed neighborhoods and done so by leaving and going a far distance away. The third house activation can mean like moving locally, but because we've had the ninth house activated, it could be moving states. I don't generally say overseas travel, although because you have the Mars in the 12th house, that may be coming for you, or maybe it could be. The 12th house is overseas travel. But yeah, it's long distance moves could have happened. So maybe it was like, you started a long distance move, or you wanted to do it, or you were planning it and now you've moved, or there's some sort of illumination about, you desiring to move someplace else, about changing your local environment in some way. There could be, like I said, some sort of legal matter that is coming up to fruition or to be illuminated. The ninth house is also higher education. So it could be something to do with higher education from April of this year. And yeah, so because of this Grand Cross, though, in your 9th, 12th, 3rd, and 6th house, it may be feeling that there's a lot of changes that are happening in your local immediate environment. So your day-to-day life, things are really shifting. I think for a lot of Leos, like if you look back to like the last year and a half, you're going to notice that your day-to-day life has shifted. So whether that means like you've moved, or the way that you go through your life day to day is completely different. Now you have new habits, you have new lifestyle, you have new hobbies that you're bringing into your life, your day-to-day life. Pluto in the 6th, man, breaking down structures in the 6th house of health, inequality, injustice, litigation, conflict, hard work. The 6th house is such a sacrificial house. Man, that journey has been intense, right? Like, I don't know, Leos, let me know if you feel like Pluto in the 6th has been truly, truly intense and difficult, and also very, very rewarding. But man, we have worked hard for the rewards. And that's what 6th house does. It makes you work hard. And through this process, you realize what is worth working hard for, what is worth fighting for. Hopefully, it may have taken a lot of times, right? Pluto definitely gives us a lot of options to do that. But the ruler of this full moon being in your 12th house and the full moon happening in your 9th house says that there's a lot of spiritual elements to you right now. The 12th house is about solitude. I did a Pluto Mars opposition house video. Make sure you check that out. I'll have that link below where I talk about Mars in your 12th and Pluto in your 6th and more in depth. But the 12th house is about solitude. It's about spirituality. It's about overseas travel. It's about your psyche and your subconscious beliefs and your dreams. And so it may be that you've had a very intense dream life, or your dreams have had a lot of symbols in them lately. And you're really, and I think I talked about this in that video too, is that when Mars goes into your 1st and it's going to move backwards and go back into your 12th and then back into your 1st, it's really because we are starting something so new in our lives. And in terms of how we move in the world and how we take action in the world. And right now, you're not quite there yet. There is something in your psyche and your subconscious that you need to work through. And a really great astrologer I listened to recently said something about Leos, and I feel like this is very, very true for Leo risings, and then Leo suns, and then Leo moons, but that people who don't love themselves don't like Leos. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And I've been feeling this really intense feelings come up from like childhood and forward on, like not just from my childhood, but things that have persisted regarding that, me feeling like Leo's, you know, being really polarizing and feeling like I trigger a lot of people in a lot of ways. And that's brought up so many like subconscious and insecurity beliefs that I've had since childhood. And so I've had to work on that. And so it may be something like that happening in your life too. And the reason why this is coming up is because we are about to have Mars in our sign. And so we're going to be having a lot of energy to take action, to be initiative, and have a new beginning in our lives possibly. And before we get there, we just need a little bit more information that we're missing. There's something that we're missing here. Okay, let me get some tarot cards. What is this full moon highlighting for my Leos? Yeah, see? Oh my gosh, you can't make this up sometimes, you know? It's like you are ending a cycle. This is the world. This is the end of the major arcana. There is a cycle, and the 12th house is the house of ending cycles. So it's something that we are finishing up in the way that we take action in the world. Maybe, you know, because you have felt certain way about, or people have made you believe that you're like me, like you're too much, and it's they don't like you, and that you trigger them. And so then you've kind of retreated, or you've started acting more in a way that's not so self-expressive. And that's so against our nature as Leos, right? Especially Leo risings, because it's like, that's what literally the first house. And so if you are not embodying it because of fear of whatever, or some sort of messaging that you got, or something that's in your subconscious, so whether it was a messaging from your parents, from society, from friends, something, if you are feeling that, then you are not acting in a new way, in the way that you want to, and you are going to have the opportunity to really be able to initiate yourself and put yourself out there in a new way. But there's just, you're finishing something up. What is this thing that we're finishing up as Leos? Yeah, okay. So the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is very courageous. And when we bring the feminine archetype into the wands, it gives us like this free spirit and courage to be ourselves. Look at how powerful she looks with her lion. Well, what's that, a leopard? With her cat, which Leos, we are the cats, right? Which I could have a very long conversation if you're a Leo, specifically if you're a Leo rising, but even Leo suns and moons, if you don't like cats, that's something you might want to explore, you know, because we are the cat archetype. This is very much, we are ending any negative beliefs that we have about stepping into our own power, about being courageous, about being our free-spirited self, in the sense that it's like free self-expression, right? It's not about being a hippie or whatever. It's about free spirit of expression. And maybe that part of you, maybe your environment, your coworkers, your, you know, people that you work with, or any sort of litigation that you're a part of, or any sort of higher education that you're a part of, or even your local environment. So people in your local environment, or maybe your health issues, and any conflict that you're having with other people is putting in your mind that you can't be you. That you have to dim your light in order for people to accept you, or in order for people to think that, or in order for you to get something done. You can't stand confidently in your power. That's some sort of a belief that you've had. Let's see if there's anything else. Maybe some sort of an advice card for my Leos. This is really crazy because this is, so this card is in the Thoth Tarot deck. It's called Adjustment, but this is the Justice card. So if you have any sort of legal issue that is frustrating you, or that has been frustrating for a long time, there may be some sort of during this full moon, or around this full moon, or as this full moon is going to illuminate something to you that is going to it's not necessarily going to say, I can't say that you're going to win, that you're in the right, but it's a karmic rebalancing that's happening. So whatever justice needs to happen, if you have truly been wronged, there is some sort of and this doesn't have to be illegal. This can be any sort of conflict. This can be a work thing. This can be a health thing. This can be something with your pets. This can be something with your immediate environment and people, how they've been treating you. It brings me to the 6th house for some reason, even though this full moon is in your 9th. So it could be, any sort of feeling that you've been betrayed in some way, or there's a karmic rebalancing that needs to happen. It's going to happen. So like, you're ending this cycle of not acting in a way that feels right to you. And there's a karmic rebalancing that's going to be happening during this time. Many of you guys have been wronged. This is really bringing me to like, because this is kind of a culminate or a combination of the 6th and 9th house, in my opinion. Because this card, Justice, is about truth. It's about laws. It's about fairness and justice. And karmic house as well, or karmic meaning as well. And cause and effect and long-term consequences for our actions and making a decision regardless of those possible consequences. So it feels very like 6th and 9th house, because the 6th house, like I said, is conflict. And the 9th house is law. The 6th house is litigation. I feel like you have been dampened by the problems that you've had to deal with, or the lack of justice and fairness or inequality in your life. And now this is going to be balanced in a way that needs to be balanced so that you can start being yourself. Wow, that is amazing, you guys. So I think that's all I have for Leos. As I pull another card. Okay, I got the 4 of Pentacles. I think, to me, this is just reiterating what I was saying before, is that you have restricted yourself. And now you're probably, because of the Grand Cardinal Cross, you're probably in a situation that is causing you to feel restricted. And I'm not saying that the outside circumstances are not real, because they very well may be. You very well may have conflicts or injustices, or people putting you in a position where you don't know what to do, or you feel like there's no way out. And in those moments, can we remember our birth given right as Leos to command space, to command our way of being, our self-expression, rather than falling into and believing what they say about you, that you are holding on, or that you need to restrict. This is a card that is very much about controlling yourself. And so this is telling you, like, you believed them. You've believed the people and the circumstances that have told you that you need to act in a way that is not expressive and powerful. So it's just saying, hey, like, maybe during this full moon, something's gonna be illuminated to you that is gonna show you that maybe you've been complicit in this suppression of self. And that is empowering, because you can change yourself. You can't change how other people treat you, but you can change yourself. So, okay, that is all I have for you guys, Leos. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, this full moon is happening for you guys in your 8th house, a house of your psyche, of secrets, of shared resources, of intimacy, of other people's money, loans. This is a house of transformation. So I want you to think back to April of this year, April 8th, when we had the solar eclipse. Honestly, I could see for some Virgos, especially Virgo risings, that there has been some sort of a loss, whether that's a death of some sort during that time, or there has been a deep transformation of some sort, so a loss of something and having to transform it. It could also be that something was started or an idea was thought up or an intention around shared resources in April. So maybe there was a conversation that was had around how you share resources with a partner, with a business partner, romantic partner, with other people in general. Maybe there was some sort of an inheritance issue, or maybe there was maybe there was something that pointed to you getting a loan or you getting an inheritance or you thinking you were going to get one. And now that's coming to fruition. It's something about shared resources. But inherently, the 8th house to me is a house of deep emotional intimacy. So especially when we're talking about shared resources, generally we share resources. I mean, obviously we have banks and stuff like that, but with people in our lives, it takes a lot of emotional trust to share resources with other people. So this could also be something that is about your way of intimately relating to other people. This is a Scorpio house, right? Scorpio is very deep and very passionate. And so something around April that is now coming to fruition could be around intimacy, how you want to be intimate with another being. And it doesn't have to always mean, your partner, because there are other people that you can have intimate emotional relationships with in your life, right? Your friend, your best friend, your children, your mom, your dad, things like that. Now, this is causing a grand cross in your 11th, 2nd, 5th, and 8th house, right? And I did a Pluto Mars video. I'll have that link below where I talk about Pluto and Mars opposing in your 5th and 11th. That's being activated in this full moon. Also, make sure you listen to the first part of the video, the overview, if you haven't already, because I go over in depth about a lot of things about this full moon that I'm not going to be able to cover for every sign. And I think they're really important. And I talk about the Grand Cross and kind of what things we can do about that. But for you guys, when it falls in these houses, right now, the sun and the moon are opposing from the 8th and the 2nd. This feels very this feels very financial in nature. But also, when we have the 2nd house activated, it also tells me that there's something about valuing yourself. It's not just about money. That's a money house for sure. It's an income house, but it's also about self-value. It's about self-esteem. So maybe something you're recognizing during this full moon, that part of the reason why you intimately relate to other people or the way that you do is because you don't value yourself in the way that you want to value yourself. And the 8th house is very transformative. So this could be packed with transformative power in you being able to transform that, right? And recognizing that if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have self-worth, if you don't have self-esteem, then you're not going to be able to relate to people in a way that is healthy. Tarot, give me some information. What's going on with Virgos right now? Okay, the 8 of Pentacles. So 8 of Pentacles tells me, such cool imagery. The 8 of Pentacles tells me that you guys are working on mastering something during this time. This is very much a card of like apprenticeship. And so this could be that you're working towards a new vision or a new idea or a new career. Generally because it is Pentacles, it's generally something in the physical realm, and a lot of times it points to career and money. So maybe there is a sense of you recognizing right now you just got to put your head down and work. And you got to put your head down and work, and that could be on yourself. It could be on your finances, on your shared resources, right? Like you're recognizing that the shared resources aren't enough, or your resources aren't enough, and you're putting your head down and you're saying, okay, what do I need to do in order to get to where I need to go? The Mars being in your 11th house, I talked about this in the Pluto Mars video, but this is about finding people who support you, cutting people out who don't support you, and having a lot of energy towards being like, who is supporting me? I want to find the people who actually care about me, who actually want to support my goals in life and my mission in life. And so it's very much about garnering skills. This also to me feels like both of these are showing me that the change that I'm feeling for Virgos is real. You guys are going through a very deeply transformative process right now, and I think that's very necessary during this time. The Five of Wands is called strife in this deck. And this is a card of competition, of conflict, of fighting, of disagreements. It's very passionate in nature, so I feel like this could be over money or relationships that you're a part of. And yet it also encourages us to take an enthusiastic approach to change. And so that is really coming up for you guys. And this card in this tarot deck, it's called Prudence, so being like more cautious. But I also feel like this is a card that is telling me, along with the Five of Wands, that there is a change in your disposition, that you are willing to be more courageous in the way that you solve disagreements, and that is a major transformative energy for you, because the 8th house that's being illuminated, this is not a super easy house. This is a house that is deep. It's very passionate. And the conflicts that arise around 8th house matters, like I said, intimacy, shared resources, they're big. And this is kind of pointing me back to the 2nd house of like, hey, you need to learn to take care of yourself and to stand up for yourself, but also make sure that we're doing it in a way that's aligned, right? Like, I think the tendency, what happens, and I feel like, sometimes I could feel this for Virgos, is that, but it really for everybody, I talked about this in the overview of the video, is that sometimes when we're feeling frustrated, and for you guys, the frustration could be coming from, like I said, financial, but also you're feeling like you can't express yourself in the way that you want to within groups that you're a part of, or with people who are supposed to be supporting you, or within deep emotional connections. So there's this, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling restricted, and all the Grand Cross is making me feel like I can't, there's no way out. And I think the way out for you guys isn't to be impulsive and just be like, lash out because you felt so constricted. That's not what I would recommend for anybody. What I do think is that if you can take an enthusiastic approach to transformation and put your nose to the grindstone, what did I just say? And put your nose to the grindstone and just work toward what you need to do in order to make that transformation happen, or really the transformation, I would say, to really work through these disagreements, that's what's going to help you during this time. I don't think lashing out because you're feeling like I'm not able to express myself, now I'm going to just like lash out, now I'm just going to blow up, now I'm just going to, it's more about, how can I stand up for myself? This full moon, it's really the Sabian Symbol that Diane Roche talks about, which I didn't even talk about in the first part of the video, but she talks about this being a very duality type of degree, 25 degrees of Aries, because we round up. So this is very much about cooperation and like recognizing that you don't have all the information right now. And so don't blow up if something comes up during this full moon, because you don't have all the information. And instead, what you can use that Martian energy towards, and all of this intense energy, is to allow the transformation to happen and just worry about yourself. Stop trying to think about other people. Worry about your situation, your values, your self-esteem, your financial stuff that's going on, and really allow yourself to be transformed through everything that's changing around you. Let's see if there's any last messages for my Virgos. The Hanged Man. See, wow, the imagery on these is just crazy. The Hanged Man is literally what I just said. Literally what I just said. In my opinion, full moons are not a time to act. We're being there is a lot of emotional energy, and so we want to make sure that we wait it out a little bit, at least 12 to 24 hours, like I said in the first part of the video, especially for big stuff, before we lash out. This to me is telling me exactly what I'm saying, specifically for you guys. This is a point in your life where you need to see something from a different perspective. You don't have all of the information yet, and there are secrets in your psyche, possibly with the 8th house, that you are not quite understanding. Mars is about to go in your 12th house, right? On November 4th, it's going to go in your 12th house. And I think maybe around that time, you might be illuminated to a lot of things in your psyche. But 8th house is also your psyche. So you could be getting some secrets, learning some secrets about yourself, about other people, or about something that will give you the full picture. Right now is not the time to act. You need to suspend action, take time to go inward, and you're going to be offered by someone or something internally a different perspective. This card also is kind of what I was saying about surrendering to the transformation. This is a card of surrender, because the thing is if you don't pause and you don't go inward, you'll recognize that things come to a point where like nothing is moving. Your projects, your things that you're trying to work toward just come to a complete halt, and then force you to go inward anyway. So if you can just take the initiative and go inward, that can help a lot, because the Grand Cross already makes people feel restricted. It makes you feel like there are circumstances and people outside of yourself who are restricting you. And for you guys, don't forget, you have Saturn in the 7th. So Saturn in the 7th is, even though it's not part of this Grand Cross, it still means that you're consistently feeling like there are delays in your relationships, and that may be causing you to feel really restricted, along with all of the things that are happening, like I said, in your 11th, your financial stuff, your self-expression, feeling like you don't have people who support you or looking for people who support you. It really feels like you are in a position right now where you are being prepared for this new level of you. And so really the best thing for you to do is to surrender. I'm trying to, where is, yeah, because Pluto's in your 5th house. Yeah. So listen to my Pluto-Mars opposition, because I feel like that is going to be really helpful for you guys right now to pour this energy into some sort of creative or entertaining, pleasureful way of being right now. I think that's the best way. Like, don't take action. You don't need to change or get out of this situation, or, you're feeling very restricted. I know it's frustrating. Can we put that energy toward creativity, pleasure, joy, fun, self-expression, your children, hang out with your children, go have fun with your kids, something like that. Okay? Virgos, that was really long. Let me know how that resonates, and please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this full moon's happening in your 7th house, and it's causing a Grand Cardinal Cross in all of your foundational angular houses. So 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th. Since April of 2023, your whole life could have changed. And I think for Libras, I've been seeing a very similar message from a lot of Libras since the solar eclipse of this year. Because I think back in April 8th of this year, which this full moon is a culmination of what was started around April 8th of this year. But what I see it in the people I speak to, in my comments. I observe it a lot in my own life. Although most of the Libra risings that I have in my life are Libras, they tend to be self-aware, but still, even self-awareness, like, we're still human. There's going to be things that we don't know and we can't see about ourselves, right? So here's what's going to happen. I feel like I am going to, for a lot of Libra risings specifically, I'm going to be the Martian person, because you have this full moon happening in your 7th house. And I'm going to be the Martian person that may say some stuff that you may not like. And I'm okay with that. Honestly, I'm okay with that, because I want to maybe help you guys. And maybe it won't. Maybe my message won't help you guys. But what I'm hearing about a lot of Libras, because you've had the South Node in your sign, North Node in your 7th house, right? So the changes that have been made in your life have been really about shedding layers of yourself that are no longer useful. In my solar eclipse video the solar eclipse in Libra, I talked about relationships a lot. And I talked about how we as people have a tendency, myself included, but when you have Libra placement, especially in your big three, your stelliums, there is a tendency to people please because there is a concern of beauty over truth, right? And it's not that you guys neglect truth, but you'd rather have beauty and harmony over the harsh truth that's going to cause conflict, right? That's your opposite sign. And so what I think this South Node in Libra has been doing has been stripping us collectively of those issues. And so for you guys, it's felt very personal because it's in your sign. So if you are a Libra feeling victimized during this time, or you've been feeling victimized since April of this year, or you've been feeling victimized for the last year and a half, what I want to say to you is, who has been victimizing you? And the reason why I ask this is because, is it possible that you have been complicit in victimizing yourself? Well, Jazz, how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways. And for example, Leo's kind of had a similar message, but theirs came from a different perspective. For Libras, I feel like the way that you guys can sometimes be complicit is by not standing up for yourself, is by people pleasing. And here's the thing, you guys, when you've been a people pleaser for so much of your life, as a recovering people pleaser who is always working on it, it's very difficult for me because it's a lot of times it's rooted in a lot of trauma, like childhood trauma, at least it is for me. And for Libras, it's very much in your nature to want to please others, to be a pleasing person. It's part of the reason why we love you guys. What can happen a lot of times is we don't even know when we've been people pleasing for so long that we're people pleasing. Here's the way you can tell if you're people pleasing, okay? Because being cooperative, amazing. But there's a difference because when you're people pleasing, you have resentment. So if you are being cooperative, you are looking for a mutually agreeable situation or solution to a conflict. But in order to get there, everybody has to be really honest about what's going on. And so if you find yourself appeasing other people or avoiding conflict and then feeling resentful, that is a major sign that you have betrayed yourself, that you have neglected yourself. And for a lot of us, this is a very long journey. But when you have the South Node in your sign, it's wanting you to get those messages. And this previous solar eclipse, the last solar eclipse that we're having in Libra with the nodes there, it's like I said in that video that I made, I'll have that link below. It's like this is the last push effort for you guys to shed those qualities. And with Libra, it's very much a constant having to be put up with this situation where, because like I said, this is foundational for you guys. North Node of the 7th house, lots of relational issues that have come up. You guys have Mars in your 10th, Pluto in your 4th. Like I said, watch my Pluto Mars video. I'll have that link down below to get more information on that. Your whole lives may have changed. Where you live, maybe you've been doing emotional work, your career might have changed, your relationship might have changed. Even if you were in the same relationship, it's probably changed. You have changed. If you have changed, that is amazing. But if you're still in a position where you're looking at other people with the North Node in the 7th, this full moon is going to illuminate. And like I said, for some of you guys, it may be me illuminating this to you. The full moon in the 7th is going to show you how have you been giving other people responsibility that's on you. Your responsibility is to take care of yourself. Nobody else has that responsibility. And I'm saying this, like I said, I just need to reiterate this, that I'm coming from a place of deep understanding. Anger and people pleasing go hand in hand. When you cannot work with your anger, you people please, right? So I have Mars in the 1st house. And so you would expect me to be super combative. And sure, sometimes people may see me that way. But when I look at my relationships, I actually always take a very submissive role in that. And that has a lot to do with like how I grew up and the dynamics at home. But you think like, oh, she has Mars in the 1st house. She's like the instigator. No, I don't. I'm not. I negated my Mars in the 1st house, and I took on a very people-pleasing activity, people-pleasing personality, because I saw that when I was acting Martian, people didn't like it. And so I didn't like that. Because as a child, you're like, wait, I need to feel accepted and loved by the world. And this makes me feel like I'm not accepted and loved. So when we are not, like, so anger and people pleasing go hand in hand. And during this full moon, you may be feeling activated to argue, to fight, because you're just like, I'm so sick and tired with this Grand Cross. You're going to feel restricted. You're going to feel opposition. You're going to feel like there's no way out. And you're going to feel like the only way out is to fight. And in some ways that may be true, but I also want you to be mindful that you are acting within alignment. How can we integrate the anger, right? Like, how can we integrate the anger before acting? That's not a one-day process, but this full moon might illuminate something to you, or it may bring up a situation that makes you have to recognize that, like, people-pleasing isn't the way, and brute force and violence and, volatility isn't the way either. Those are two extremes of anger. It's completely disowning the anger and people-pleasing, or stepping into the anger in a way that's destructive, which destruction is not a bad thing, right? But if it's destructive to everybody involved and there's no consciousness behind it, well, when we have destruction, we want some sort of conscious destruction, right? Like, hey, I know this thing needs to die. So we want to find a more of a balanced way of being, which is like owning your power, stepping into and feeling your anger, and then acting from that place of protecting yourself. And the thing is you guys are a sign that's so focused on the other. I think one of the biggest issues is that you don't know what you want. You don't know what makes you happy. You don't know how, when I say you're abandoning yourself in that moment when you people please others, well, it takes a while to understand, well, what is important to me? What do I want to fight for? What do I want to stand up for, right? And that takes trial and error. So you got to experiment with it. Sometimes you're going to stand up for yourself and you're going to realize, that was too much. Or, you know what, that wasn't really worth it. But you can't learn that until you actually start doing it. So I got the Four of Swords, which is a card. It says truce. This tarot deck calls it truce, which is really interesting because that's what I was just saying. It's a rest. It's a stepping back. During this time, I feel like you guys really do not, in my opinion, as my advice, engage in conflict. Do not engage in conflict. That doesn't mean suppress your anger. In the beginning part of the video, I talked about this for a very long time. So make sure you watch that part if you haven't already, the overview about how we can work with our anger without suppressing it. So this is just telling me this is a time for you guys after, you may have recently had strife in your life. You may have had a lot of arguments because this comes after the Three of Swords. So after some betrayal, some sort of loss, some sort of, sadness. Now it's time for you to rest and integrate. It's time for you to rest and preserve your energy. This is not a time to be expending. And it's hard because it's like, well, the full moon is in Aries squaring Mars. It's like everyone's like so much action. You don't need to take action right on the day of this full moon though, okay? Just take some time. Just take some time if things are coming up. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Yeah, see? The Five of Swords. Arguments, disagreements, conflict, and fighting battles. This card is very much about fighting battles that maybe aren't worth fighting for. And for some of you guys, you may have to be the bigger person and apologize. And I know you guys are, I know that Libras often feel like they are put in that position because they are like the peacemakers. But right now, the Four and Five of Swords, do not engage in arguments. Do not engage in disagreements that are not really worth it. Like your mental peace comes first right now, okay? Let's see. What is the outcome if Libras can do this? Just rest. Really be careful about what conflict they decide to engage in. This card, I mean, you saw it on camera, right? Like, this is the Wheel of Fortune in the Rider-Waite. This is a critical turning point in your life. So I asked, what if you guys listened to my advice and, everything I just said, previous things I said in your reading. What is the outcome? And it's the Wheel of Fortune, a turning point, karmic rewards. So if you've been feeling as a Libra that, you know, your life is just, it's not fair. Nothing's going the way it should be. And I'm giving and I'm not getting. Here's the thing. You have to be willing to give from an unconditional place, and a place that in which you can give without betraying yourself. And this is such a delicate balance. I mean, I can't talk through it in this reading, but sometimes the Wheel of Fortune can be like a shock to the system too. So maybe like during this full moon, you know, you take a rest and then something changes, but you have to understand, you have to go with the flow and understand that anything that's happening to you is very karmic at this time. But in the beginning of this video, in the overview, I talked about having faith and optimism and how that's difficult to cultivate during this time. And I think for you guys specifically, this card is asking you guys to have faith, to have optimism, that opportunities will come to you and that what goes around comes around. This is very karmically indicated. So if you've been truly giving from a good place and you feel like I am sick and tired of like being run over or feeling like no one appreciates me, and you listen to my advice, everything I said, including the resting and, you know, just recognizing that not all battles need to be fought during this time, and integrating your anger rather than just people pleasing or exploding, what's coming to you are opportunities that you never expected. But the South Node, this is karma, right? This is fate. The South Node is saying, I can't give you the rewards if you continue to be the same way you've always been. So you guys, listen to my solar eclipse in Libra video, okay? I think that's really important for you guys. If you guys need more, I talk in depth about what I'm talking about here. Listen to the first part of the video, especially where I give the advice about faith and optimism. I think that's really important for you guys. And let me know how this resonates. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. Yeah, I want to hear your guys' experience. All right, I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising, this full moon is happening in your guys' 6th house. So the 6th house is actually kind of a broader house. It encompasses a lot. It is a house of injustice and inequality, and so therefore can include litigation. It's primarily known as a house of health, illness, pets, work, digestive issues even, your daily responsibilities, your coworkers. Okay. Ace of Pentacles. Work, maybe, coming up for a lot of you guys. And it's like a house of mind-body connection, which is definitely what we're working towards with this full moon. And I talked more about that in the beginning portion of this video, in the overview, about, you know, our mind and our emotions. And, you know, this full moon looks very volatile or irritable or confrontational, difficult in that way, inflammatory. For some of you guys, if you have health issues, this could kind of be like a peak or a culmination of those health issues, and maybe that'll push you to take care of something that's needed to be taken care of. Okay, great. And yeah, so if you think back to April 8th of this year, we had a solar eclipse in Aries, and this full moon is a culmination of that new moon, the solar eclipse. So think about what was going on with all those 6th house things that I talked about back in April, how those things are coming back up now, and you may be illuminated to some sort of information in your 6th house things. Okay, Page of Pentacles. Wow, you guys, this is crazy. Yeah, it's feeling like, I also got the Sun. It's feeling like there is something to do with work and money for you guys. It's the more earthy part of the 6th house is coming out. The 6th house is also where we learn what is worth working hard for and sacrificing for. And generally we figure that out through a lot of suffering, adversity, inequality, and things like that. So yeah, what's been going on in that part of your chart since April of this year? There may be some sort of peak of what's happening, or there could be some sort of illumination, or both. Now, during this time, we have a Grand Cardinal Cross, which I talked about earlier, and I also have a video on Pluto opposing Mars, which is part of this Grand Cross. I'll have that linked below, because for you guys specifically, being ruled by Mars and Pluto, both, having them in opposition is going to be really, really prominent for you. And I think that's why I got a major arcana for you, because Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, obviously, of Capricorn. And then you have Mars in its fall, which is your other ruler. So yeah, definitely listen to that video. I'm going to go over some of similar themes, but I go more into depth about that opposition. That's going to be perfected November 3rd, but we're going to be feeling it already through 2025, because Mars and Pluto are going to come into that opposition again. The Grand Cross for you guys is happening in your 12th, 3rd, 6th, and 9th house. My gosh, cards just keep falling out for you guys. Maybe I should stop shuffling. 8 of Swords, which here is called interference. So it's happening in your 12th, 3rd, 6th, and 9th house, right? So you've got Pluto in your 3rd house, you've got Mars in your 9th house, and then you've got the Sun, Juno in your 12th, and Moon, Chiron in your 6th. So whenever the cadent houses are involved like that, it makes me feel like there is a lot of your environment, your daily environments could be creating a lot of tension for you right now, could be chaotic for you right now. And because you guys are a fixed sign, that may be a little bit more difficult for you to deal with, because you guys like some sort of stability. Now, these are naturally changeable houses, but for you guys, this may be manifesting in a way that feels really chaotic for you right now. It feels like your daily environments are kind of trapping you or making you feel like you can't do what you need to do. And this could encompass a lot of things, right? Because I said the 6th house encompasses a lot. The 3rd house, I think, is the most encompassing house, because it's your local environment. It's your the people who are around you all the time, the trips that you make on a regular basis. So that's why it includes your neighbors, your siblings, your cousins. It's, you know, like I said, if you drive to work every day, and yeah, everything that you're kind of surrounded by every day, that is where you have Pluto. That's also a house of your communication. It's a house of your thinking and learning skills. So for the last 15 years, you've been getting a lot of change in that part of your chart. And so, yeah, it's not the worst place to have Pluto, because Capricorn is sextiling your sign anyway, but it can really manifest in a very wide variety of ways for different people depending on the rest of your chart. For you guys, Mars in the 9th is really pushing you into learning new belief systems, attaining higher education, changing some sort of philosophy of life, and wanting to just explore your consciousness. Maybe you're recognizing that, you know, with this opposition with the 3rd house, that you have been too close-minded, or that, you know, your communication has been too closed off. And so you're wanting, and you may have actually recently got some sort of messaging about this, because we recently had Mercury square Pluto, and Mercury was in your 12th house, squaring Pluto in your 3rd. So the 12th house is a house of solitude, loss, grief, your subconscious thoughts, things that are unknown to you because they're in your subconscious. So you may have gotten a message while you were meditating, or while you were in solitude, or while you were doing some sort of healing work, hypnotherapy, or even if you were just, if something came up in your dreams, or if you were journaling and you were doing like stream of consciousness journaling, and you recognize something about the way that you communicate, or the way that you've been contributing to your day-to-day difficulties. And now, you know, this full moon is kind of causing some sort of tension, because you now recognize like what needs to be done, but you're still feeling restricted. You're still feeling like your circumstances or people around you are restricting you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the tarot. So I first got the Ace of Pentacles, which whenever this comes up to me, it really, in a lot of times I've seen this come up when somebody's getting some sort of a job offer. So that could be very real for some of you guys. It also could be that you're having a new idea about making money or using money, a new creative business venture that you want to go on. And really, I later got the Page of Pentacles, which is very similar. But the Page of Pentacles is a little bit more, the Ace is just the idea, is just the very beginning. And the Page of, the Page of Pentacles is a little bit further ahead, but not quite. Like this is very much in the beginning stages. This is not the Queen or the King, and it's not like a 9 or a 10. It's really, something is in the very beginning stages, and because it's in the Pentacles, it's making me feel like it's something to do with your material life, your resources, your money, your career. Sometimes this can talk about relationships too, but generally I think that it's more financially oriented. And then I got the Sun. So I believe that whatever this is that you're working toward has the possibility to really bring a lot of success. And even, and when people hear success, they think of money. And I personally don't think that's success. That's monetary success. But if we want to talk about success on a holistic level, success to me is more an inner feeling of success. Vitality, right? It's a sense of vitality that it brings you. And I always say, like, you know, when I'm working on something that I love, like, obviously we need to have our needs met, right? Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is like, we need to have our needs met. We need to have food and shelter and clothes, all these things, in order to get any further than that. But beyond that, there is a sense, like, when you're doing something that you love, that the money aspect just isn't as important. It loses importance a little bit. And for some people, more so than others, right? Like some people are just more financially oriented, and that's totally fine. And some people are just naturally not. So, but whatever this is, this new idea that you're having, and it could be something, because this is your 6th house, it could be something about a legal matter, or even like your health, like you're having a new idea. And the Page of Pentacles too is also like you're recognizing that there are skills that you need to get, and maybe you're already working on getting those skills in order to start this new idea. It's kind of like I said, it's a little bit the step ahead. This is the Ace is just the idea, and then this is a little bit ahead. You may also be getting, this is kind of, these two together make me feel like there's some sort of message that you could be getting about job, about money, about career, about even health or something. Like somebody could be giving you a message of some sort. But yeah, whatever this message is, whatever this idea is, has the ability to make you really successful, to bring a lot of vitality and warmth into your life. This is, and this is big. Like maybe this is something that you've been working toward for a really long time, or that you've been desiring for a really long time. And that's one thing that I love about Scorpios is the tenacity, right? Like you guys will work at something that you love, and you will continue to work at it. Sometimes to detriment, yes, of course, but tenacity can be really helpful, especially when it comes to doing something that you love, because the payoff generally takes a long time, right? We know that anytime we're starting any sort of business, takes a long time for payoff generally, unless you're like super, super lucky. And then I got the 8 of Swords. I really feel like I've gotten this for you guys in the past couple of months. And the 8 of Swords, here it's called interference. When I think of the 8 of Swords, it always makes me feel like it's definitely, you're feeling bonded. Like you're feeling like you're in bondage. Like you are, something is restricting you. And a theme of this full moon too is like not taking impulsive action, which actually really important for you guys, because, and I talked about this in the beginning of the video, so it's really for the collective, but like I said, because you guys are ruled by Mars and Pluto, and they're both in the Grand Cross, and Mars is the ruler of the full moon, you may be feeling, and you guys, I honestly like feel like you guys are not super impulsive generally when it comes to taking action. Like you think things through, or you let it marinate. But during this full moon, you might feel really impulsive, and really for you guys, because in the Rider-Waite version of this card, she has a blindfold on. And it makes me believe that specifically for you guys, there's some information that you don't know yet. Yeah, so I would just remember that. Keep that in mind if you're feeling an impulsive desire to communicate something that may elicit some sort of conflict or argument. And I'm not saying don't do anything, but if it feels impulsive, if it feels like it's coming up all of a sudden and like you can't, you know, you need to do it right now, just wait. Just give it some time to simmer, sit with it before acting. And what this card also tells me is that, and I'm getting this message for a lot of signs so far, is that in some ways you are implicit in the situation that you're in. And a lot of times I say that to people and they're like, yeah, I know. And a lot of times they're like, no, I'm not, Jazz. Like, I'm not at all. And this is not like me blaming you, right? I'm not saying it's your fault. Like, no, absolutely not. But what I am saying is that a lot of times we subconsciously really play into our own restrictions without recognizing it. And so all I'm asking is like, can you see that in some way you've also kept yourself stuck? Along with the external circumstances or the people outside of you who actually really may be keeping you stuck, can you see that maybe you have also been keeping yourself stuck? That's all I ask, is just to explore that. And to recognize that if you see that, there is so much empowerment in that, because then you realize, oh, I have kept myself bonded here when I didn't need to some degree, right? In what ways have I been implicit in my own feelings of restriction? And, you know, you can't stop other people or other situations from restricting you, but you can undo the blindfold and get out of the situation as much as you have power to. Yeah. So I think that's it for you guys. And let me know how that resonates. And please like and subscribe to this video and to this channel. I'll see you guys next time, Scorpios. All right. So for my Sagittarius sun, moon, and rising, this full moon is happening in your 5th house. And it is creating a Grand Cardinal Cross in your 11th, 5th, and 8th, and 2nd. So let's talk about it. Now, the 5th house, this house is a house of pleasure. It's a house of joy and creativity. It's a house of children and a childlike spirit. It's a house of romance, love, dating. Self-expression is big here. Back in April of this year, we had a solar eclipse in this part of your chart. What was going on around those 5th house themes around then that could be coming up now to be culminated, to come to a peak, to be finished? You guys, I'm getting so many pentacles. I feel like collectively a lot of us are really moving toward new direction in finances, wealth, career, resources. I got the Ace of Pentacles. So, and that doesn't really surprise me, because I think in the last video, Pluto-Mars opposition video that I did, which Pluto and Mars are a part of this Grand Cardinal Cross, so watch that video if you haven't, because I go more into depth about that, but I believe that you guys had a financial, I don't remember, you and Gemini, I don't remember, it was either financial or emotional, and now I'm starting to think it was you guys that was financial, so that kind of goes with this, that it was financial. And something financial in nature is happening, which makes sense, like I said, because your 8th and 2nd house are money houses, and the 11th house, where Sun and Juno and Black Moon Lilith are right now, is a house of gains from career. So, and support from other people and communities that are supportive. This opposition, or this Grand Cross, really could encompass so many different things depending on your chart, because there's so many things, so many parts of your chart that are activated. But these parts of your chart that are activated, like Gemini, are areas of your life that you generally like some consistency in. And, you guys are a mutable sign, so change is not foreign to you. And so you may do a little better with this. But generally, we like consistency in our self-expression. Page of Cups. Okay. Generally, like some consistency in our expression, in our self-expression, in our finances, in our shared resources, in our stability, in our groups and networks that support us. And so things may be changing up in there. And the Grand Cardinal Cross could be making you feel like there is a lot of restriction financially, that there is restriction in finding a place and a network of people who support your self-expression. I think that Sagittarius, a lot of time, you guys are not necessarily self-expressive. I mean, you're a fire sign, so there is always a sense of self-expression, especially if you have a Sagittarius moon. The moon really, in fire signs, really likes to express itself. But you guys have a pretty strong character. And so, like, some people can't stand that, like it's like too much for them or whatever. And so it feels like sometimes it's hard for you to find the groups of people or the organizations or the networks, the communities that really accept you as you are, and that you can really shine and express yourself and have creativity and joy and pleasure in a way that feels congruent to you while still feeling supported and a part of something bigger than yourself. And so this could be coming up for you guys. And I think somehow in that mix, there is a financial aspect that is keeping you bonded. That is maybe, so this could even look like you working with a humanitarian efforts, or you working within an organization that in order to, you're working there and you're feeling like you're stuck there because you don't have the finances right now to leave. And that could feel kind of unsettling. And this full moon in Aries may be highlighting to you something about like love, what it feels like to really love and feel creatively involved in the things that you create, that you're a part of. And you may be getting some sort of a message, a page of cups, that is emotional in nature or creative. This is a card of creativity and love. So you may be getting some sort of a message, some sort of an idea about something creative or something that you would love to do. Or even this could be about, you guys have Jupiter in your 7th house still, which is retrograde right now. So someone actually really, a past love, really could be like, I don't know. I don't usually make predictions like that, but it's fine. I have to say it. If it comes up, I want to say it. Somebody from your past that you've had some sort of romantic relationship with could be sending you some sort of a message. And this doesn't mean, getting back together, but maybe it could illuminate something to you. But this Ace of Pentacles with the Page of Cups makes me feel like you could also be having some sort of creative idea to make money. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that the tarot has for you guys. Yeah, it's making me feel like there's some sort of financial restriction more than anything that you're feeling right now. And it's causing you to not be able to do what you want. Or Queen of Pentacles. You guys, I got this for you guys in the Pluto-Mars opposition. So this is coming out really strong. It feels like I said, there's a tendency, there's a necessity for Sagittarius people right now to be more of the nurturing and the more nurturing, actually, maybe I didn't, no, I did get this for you guys. Yeah, I did. I think I got this earlier in this reading for somebody else. There's just so much, information out there. I'm even surprised I can remember that I got this for you guys. But I do remember in the Pluto-Mars opposition, I got Queen of Pentacles for you guys. And it was pointing to the fact that this is a time in which you need to embody the Queen of Pentacles energy, which is that person who is very nurturing in the home, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to have a family. It means very nurturing emotionally, and also has her crap together outside. So she's very stable, and she's very grounded in her nurturing. It's not overly emotional, but it's not overly cold and earthy, it's very like in the middle. This is like, I always say this is like the classic like working parent that is, taking care and cooking in the home, but also has some sort of income on the outside, which is very difficult to achieve, in my opinion, in these days. At least it would be for me. I don't know how people do it. Props to you guys if you're doing that. But you don't have to necessarily do it that way. That's just an example to get you to understand that the Queen of Pentacles has really embodied what it means to take care of herself and others. And so there's an aspect of this that is very much asking you to embody this caretaking personality, to give, because the 8th house is indicated, and this is a karmic give and take house. And I feel like for you guys, this is a time when you are indicated to give more in relationships. That doesn't just mean romantic. In all relationships, it is indicated that you give more. And you may not like that, but it keeps coming up for you. And so I'm feeling like there's something about this that is pushing you towards contributing in some way. And this could be financial or emotional, to something that is shared. So like a friendship, a business partnership. It's asking for more contribution from your end. You could also, because there's 8th house involvement here, you could be doing some psychotherapy, some looking into more occult things, and doing things like tarot, astrology to help you during this time. Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe that's why you're watching this video, because you needed to hear that message from the tarot that tells you, hey, it's right now it's feeling you need to give a little bit more than take. And that's a karmic house, like I said. So I feel like I'm picking up on something that maybe you're not even conscious of. And I'm just trying to help a lot of Sagittarius kind of clear out that karma, so that, when it gets balanced like that, you can get more too, but right now let's not focus on that. So what is the outcome if Sagittarius can learn to do what I just said, like lean into giving and caretaking more? So the last thing that I want to say is that during this full moon, people are going to be very on edge. It's a very inflammatory full moon situation. And so I want to remind you guys, because, Sagittarius can be impulsive at times, right? And it's part of the reason why your character is so endearing, in my opinion. And also it can, when things are heated like this, just being aware of the tendency to be impulsive with the tongue, with action. And I talked about this, like I said, in the beginning of the video, in the overview aspect a lot. So make sure you listen to that if you haven't already. But it really is about aligning with the self and trying really hard to just not act impulsively, because there could be a lot of conflict and disagreements that are coming up for you guys during this full moon, just like for everyone else. But I'm feeling like for Sagittarius, with, Saturn and Neptune in the 4th, it just feels like don't let yourself get super riled up, okay? Or to take action on that impulsively. All right, let me know, Sagittarius, how this resonates for you guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, so for my Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this full moon is happening in your 4th house of your home, of your emotional foundations, of your roots, your mother figure or mother, your so the Strength card, which in this tarot deck is called Lust. That's very interesting. Okay. So for you guys, this is touching on all of your foundational houses in your chart. The 4th house is a place of rest. And when we have a full moon that's activating a Grand Cross in a house of rest, it doesn't feel super good. It doesn't feel super easy. And Capricorns love a good challenge. So, if something doesn't feel easy, they're like, well, figure this out. Yeah, so you guys have Pluto in your first, Aries in, Moon and Chiron and Aries in your fourth. You have Mars in your seventh, and then you have Libra, Sun in Libra, and Juno in your 10th. So I did a video about the Mars-Pluto opposition, and I really recommend that you guys check that out because obviously you are ruled, Pluto is in your guys' sign, and so it's going to be affecting you guys very deeply, especially if you have anything at the later degrees of Capricorn. But yeah, so make sure you check that out because I go more into depth about that, about the 1st and the 7th house. And I don't want to go super into depth about that because there's a lot to say about the 7th house, in my opinion. But it is being activated in a Grand Cross. So during this full moon, there may be a lot of tension that you guys are feeling, a lot of restriction. And for you guys, it really is, like I said, in those foundational parts of your chart where you, it could feel like every aspect of your life is just kind of difficult right now. And the 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th tell me that it could be a romantic partner, it could be a business partner, it could be someone that you live with, your mom, it could be your own attitude that could be detrimental for you right now, your boss, your career. All of those or some of those could be indicated here, right? Like I'd have to see your full chart to see other things because there's so many things that are being lit up right now. So you guys have 2 major arcanas already. I have Strength and the Hermit. And the Hermit, I've gotten it before in this reading, and it just goes to show for me that this full moon is really a chance for us to reflect and go inward and not to take outward action right away. And I'm not saying you can't take action because you may be illuminated to something within your home life, within your deep emotional foundations, within your relationship with your mother, within your physical home. So maybe you get an idea about moving that you may need to take action on. But what I'm saying is during this full moon, so like 24 hours before, 24 hours after, and of course the day, it's like maybe suspend action. And when I see the Hermit, it's telling me, yes, like this is not a time for you guys to act. You guys need to go internally. The Hermit also says that, you know, we can have a mentor of some sort. They can help us, some sort of a spiritual guide who can help us during this time to reflect. And whenever the Hermit comes up, it tells me you guys are at a major turning point. And I remember in my Pluto Mars video, I talked about how I feel like you guys have done most of the work that you needed to do with Pluto in your first house. But there's still something left, and I feel like the only way you're going to get that answer is by going inward right now and not taking action. And Capricorn likes to take action. So it likes to move toward what it wants to do. So that may be a little bit harder for you, especially when you've got your foundational houses being lit up. And the Strength card for me is kind of works with the Hermit, because what the Strength card indicates is that there is a taming of the impulses, right? There is a inner strength that's cultivated from that process, because we're not avoiding the situation, but we're sitting with it. And in that, and this just makes me think of the Sabian Symbol I talked about earlier in the video, about how this full moon, the Sabian Symbol of it, is about man experiencing inner and outer power. And the Strength card always comes up for me because it's like when we have a sense of inner power, that translates into outer power, because we control how we move in the world, and that directly affects everyone around us and how they respond to us and how they react to us. And so we can't change their reactions and response directly, but when we change ourselves, when we go within and cultivate this inner strength, then what naturally happens, because this is just how energy works and the universal laws work, other people start reacting differently because we're acting differently, right? And they can recognize, humans can recognize when you're coming from a place of of deep inner strength rather than trying to control and manipulate outwardly other people. Yeah, I think that's been a huge lesson for you guys. I'm losing my voice. I talk so much. You've had the planet of power in your first house, so especially Capricorn risings. It's really been about cultivating some sort of an inner strength and not trying to manipulate situations for other people. And that's the only way to success for you guys during this time. So, wow, lots of great messages. Let me see if there's anything else for my Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Oh, I also want to mention, this full moon is a culmination of the solar eclipse that we had in Aries on April 8th. So if you go back to April 8th of this year, what was going on in your home life? What was going on in your deep emotional foundations, in your emotions? What was going on with your mother? What was going on within your physical home? Was your home going through some sort of renovation? Were you wanting to renovate it? And now what is coming up that is culminating about that? Maybe you started doing therapy, and that's the deep emotional work in April. Or you set a goal for yourself emotionally, like, I don't want to react this way anymore. I don't want to act this way anymore. And now you're seeing the results of that. You're seeing that it's created some sort of change, some really transformative change in your life. Or yeah, it could be something as mundane as home renovations that are completed or coming to a close now. And yeah, maybe you're getting some sort of illumination during this full moon too about your home life, about your emotions, about your early childhood. This is a house of early childhood stuff too. So really vast things when it comes to emotions, your mother, your home life in general. And then now we have the Knight of Cups. So yeah, this just reaffirms for me that whatever you're going through, actually, like, you may have issues in your relationships, in your career, but this is just highlighting to me that without getting too much into the meaning of the Knight of Cups, it's just highlighting to me that this is very emotional in nature for you guys. This change and transformation that's occurring, there's a very emotional component to it. So like, learning to control your emotions. And like I've said this a million times, but I just want to reiterate, when I say that, I don't mean to suppress. Learning how to deal with the emotions internally. I mean, here's the thing, Capricorns. You guys, I always say Capricorns are really sensitive internally. And it's just hard for people to see that. And it's hard for Capricorns to realize that, because so much of their life is outwardly focused on the material, on taking care of everyone, taking care of their job, taking care of their career, taking care of their family. It's very outwardly focused. And so they themselves don't get a chance very often, unless they have a lot of Cancer placements, a lot of water placements. They often don't get they're not very introspective about the emotional life. And what I'm hearing now is like, that. And so then what ends up happening though, especially if you have Moon in Capricorn, is that it comes out in big bursts of like explosion, because you didn't even know it was there, right? And so you were like holding it in, you built these walls around the emotions, and then a little hole gets in the wall and it just explodes because it's been held back for so long. And so this tells me that there is definitely some sort of emotional component, taming the emotional impulses. And I think you might be tested around this full moon around that. But if you can just retreat into solitude, reflection, meditation, just going internally, that is going to be very helpful for you. Okay? So Capricorns, let me know how that resonates for you. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. All right, for my Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This full moon is happening in your guys' third house. The third house is actually a very all-encompassing house. I got this card like twice, I think, at this reading. It's a very all-encompassing house, and it is your immediate environment. So the bubble that you live in, that you exist in. It could be any short trips that you regularly take, your vehicle, neighbors, siblings, cousins. This is the house of communication and thoughts, words, our minds. Learning new skills happen in the third house as well. So it really could be for you guys. Wow. Oh my goodness. The Hierophant and High Priestess. Okay. This is big for you guys. Regarding all those things I said about the third house, there was a new moon, the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th of this year in that part of your chart. So what was going on around your third house things? You may look back and see that you started a new daily habit back in April. That is now, you're recognizing now you've integrated that, and you look back, a lot of times what can happen with these full moons and or like transits like this in your third house is it can change your whole daily scene. So you could have moved, although like long distance travel maybe, but it could have just been more moving locally. You could have made a new daily, like I said, a daily routine that was completely different. And now you're seeing the fruition of that. You're seeing the peak and culmination of that. But yeah, a lot of things, it's like maybe you had a pet and now you don't have a pet. You know, like the third house can be so all-encompassing. Or you could have started learning a new skill and now you've gotten the achievement or the certificate, or you've not mastered it maybe in 6 months, but you've gotten a lot more proficient in that skill. You're seeing the fruits of your labor. Now, this does make a Grand Cardinal Cross between your 12th, 3rd, 6th, and 9th house. So, the Sun and Juno in your 9th, and then you've got Pluto in your 12th opposing Mars in your 6th. And I did a video on Pluto-Mars opposition. I'll have that link down below where I go more into depth about that, because that obviously is indicated in this Grand Cross, and it is also going to be ongoing until 2025. So definitely go ahead and watch that. Also, make sure you watch the beginning part of this video, because the overview, because I give a lot of information about the collective meaning, which you are part of the collective meaning of this full moon. And yeah, all the different human design, astrology, tarot, things like that. And I give some advice for the collective there that is based in astrology. But a lot of times what can happen with a Grand Cross is we're feeling very restricted by our circumstances. We're feeling very restricted by by people in our lives. We're feeling very restricted, like we want to move towards something, but we can't. And for you guys, because you have Mars in the 6th, this could be like you're trying to move toward a new job. You're trying to work towards being of service in a new way. You're trying to work toward health and wellness. And if you have any sort of illness, you're trying to work toward fixing that or solving that. And this could be feeling like you can't move toward that in the way that you want, because something is making you feel like there is restriction there. And the restriction really could be coming from anywhere. Probably in some ways, your daily environment is causing some sort of restriction. Probably some sort of belief system or structure that you feel like you have to follow could be making you feel this way. This could also be, I want to say, something legal. There may be some legal filings that you're going through with, or some sort of law that is keeping you, or litigation that is keeping you from being able to move in the way that you want to move in. And the High Priestess, to me, this is really pointing to Pluto in your 12th, because the High Priestess is a card about intuition. And this card is, I think, one of the hardest in the tarot to pin down, which I don't think is on accident, because this is a card of the subconscious. This is the card of connecting to our intuition, and there's a mystery in this card. And so I think that it's meant to be very open. And so because of that, let's see if we can get any clarifiers for the High Priestess for you guys. So the Hierophant for me could mean a couple of things. It could mean that you are feeling restricted by the Five of Wands. So here's the thing. Any conflict that you're going through during this time, any litigation or just any adversities or inequality or any injustice that you're feeling, any arguments, this is a very inflammatory moon. So it could cause a lot of confrontations. And in the beginning part of the video, I gave advice, and I really just talked in depth about why I don't believe action is really the best thing to do, or like during this full moon. We need some time for the emotions to cool off before we act. But for you guys, as a clarifier for the High Priestess, it's telling me that any conflict that you're engaged in right now is actually asking you to go deep within and to find the sources of this conflict in your subconscious mind. Why are you, and this is not a blaming, I'm not blaming you, but ask yourself, like, why do I find myself in these situations in which the conflict seems very similar? It feels like I'm repeating a lot of the same conflict. Because generally when that happens, it tells me that it's something within your subconscious. And with Pluto in the 12th at 29 degrees, you're really trying to complete something in that part of your chart. And the 12th house is very much like the high priestess in a way, because it's your subconscious. It's a house of intuition, solitude, healing, grief, closure. It's a place of self-sabotage and spirituality, but also feeling like oneness with the collective. And so if you're in arguments, or you're feeling competitive, or you're feeling like there is, like you need to fight right now, I think the answer is more that you need to go within and find the self-limiting structures that have kept you where you are. Because I also got the Hierophant, which this actually, to me, because I'm seeing your 9th house activation, which is just with Sun, Juno, and Black Moon, Lilith, but it feels like structure. There are some structures, because the Hierophant is very like ordered and old laws and structures. It's very traditional. And Aquarius, actually, you know, a lot of people think you're just like zany and, you know, out there, but your co-ruler is Saturn. So you guys are, and you're a fixed sign. So you guys aren't completely averse to structure, but it has to have meaning for you. It can't just be structure for the sake of structure or tradition. It has to be something that actually feels very aligned with you guys. And so the structures that you follow may not be super mainstream ones, but they very well could be. I know a lot of Aquarius who are very religious. And so I think there is some sort of something that you guys are having to deconstruct and reconstruct when it comes to traditions that you are following and laws that you are feeling restricted by, or belief systems that you are feeling restricted with, or even, you know, some sort of wisdom or philosophy that is no longer making sense for you. And the High Priestess is saying, you know, and this may be causing conflict. Like, I could see this for some Aquarius. Obviously, it's very specific, but like maybe you're having different beliefs about your religion that you're a part of, or the philosophy of life that your family or your friends follow. And, or you're in a work structure that is very traditionally structured, and you're having these different beliefs, and it's causing arguments. It's causing strife in your life. And what I'm saying is that this is a time right now for you to really indulge in your intuition and feel what's happening in there. Like, what is going on in my intuition? So using different ways like hypnotherapy, astrology, tarot, meditation, psychedelics, even if you want, something that is allowing you to kind of get into those subconscious patterns in a different way. And to help you get to that meaning, that maybe that information that maybe you're missing, that you're not seeing clearly because it's in your 12th house. All right, Aquarius, let me know how this resonates for you guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Oh my. Oh, okay. I got the Emperor and the Two of Cups. Okay, my camera died. So I got the Two of Cups and the Emperor. Now, this full moon for you guys is happening in your 2nd house in Aries. And it's causing a Grand Cardinal Cross in your 11th, 2nd, 5th, and 8th house. And I talked about the Grand Cardinal Cross a lot in the beginning of this video, the overview. Talked about a lot in the overview. So make sure you guys check that out as well, because it gives a lot of information that I believe is very pertinent to this full moon for the collective. Full moon in the 2nd house. The 2nd house is your money. It's your income, your value, self-worth, self-esteem. your material possessions and material resources, how you spend money based on your values. So think back to what was happening around April 8th of 2024 when we had a solar eclipse in this part of your chart. Maybe you decided you wanted to apply for a new job. Maybe you decided that you wanted to spend your money in a different way. You wanted to save your money in a different way. And now that's coming to a culmination. Maybe it's coming to a peak or a fruition. Now you're starting to see the money build up. You're seeing, maybe you started investing and you started seeing, now you're seeing the fruits of your labor. You're seeing that money is growing. You could also, to me, the second house is, man, I'm glad that we don't have, you guys are the last one because this voice is about to go, I think. I went to a concert a few days ago, and then obviously making this video it's been very long. It's a lot of talking. So it could feel like there have been some changes to your own sense of value and self-worth. I keep bringing this up, but I feel like I need to. Saturn in your first house is restricting in a lot of ways in order to strengthen you. And even with this Grand Cardinal Cross, there is a feeling of restriction. Like you're not able to do what you want, or things aren't working out the way that you thought they would, or that you believe they should have worked out. And this for you guys can be in a lot of ways. So it could be financial in nature, absolutely. But I also feel like there's a lot of difficulty for you guys around not just your resources, but shared resources. So loans, inheritances, or other people's money. So if you're in a partnership or you live with other people and you guys are sharing resources in some way, business partner or something, that can be causing some issues as well. But I also just keep looking at Pluto in the 11th house and how it's at 29 degrees there for you guys. And having Pluto in the 11th house and feeling like going through these changes and trying to find your people, trying to find your communities, trying to find the people who support you has been a constant struggle for you guys for 15 years. And a big part of that during this time is in finding yourself deeper and deeper, in finding the ways that you want to have fun, in the ways that you want to enjoy yourself and have pleasure in the world, how you want to express yourself. You are getting to this point of culmination, even within that, of recognizing that the more that you find out about yourself and what you love, the easier it's going to be to find the people who support you and the organizations and the communities that are what you need right now. And this is, the Pluto in the 11th has been a story for, like I said, 15, 16 years, but the Mars opposition right now that's happening with that is, I talked about that in the Pluto-Mars video as well. That's linked below, that I go more in depth about that, but I feel like this is coming up really strongly for you guys. And maybe there's some sort of a financial aspect to this, right? Like you haven't been able to express yourself in a way that you want because the money hasn't been there. And so you've had to just work hard, like you haven't had the ability to express yourself and have fun and bring joy into your life the way that you've wanted to because there's been some sort of financial constraints. Maybe there's debts. Maybe there are, you're not getting the help that you need financially, or you yourself are not making enough money. And so that could be coming up really strongly. Now let's talk about what I got here. The Emperor and the Two of Cups. So I feel like not in the last video, I don't believe, but in one of my most recent videos, I believe I got the Emperor for you guys. And I was talking about how this is a card of authority and structure, and how Saturn in your first house is allowing you to become a person of authority. And that doesn't have to mean authority in career. It's your first house. So it's just in you, and how you approach the world is recognizing within yourself that you have a sense of authority, because the Emperor on the far end could be a dictator, could be controlling and be really narrow-minded and stubborn, and this has to go this way, which isn't necessarily how Pisces usually are. But with Saturn in the first, it can sometimes make you feel that way, that, a little bit more narrow-minded, a little bit more, the attitude to life becomes a little bit more somber because you're like, no, things need to go this way. But the Emperor is saying, like, can you embody that authority within yourself and recognize in what ways can I be the main character of my own story? You can't change outer circumstances. You can't change anything that is outside of you. To some degree, you can, but not most of it that you're feeling restricted by right now. Maybe it's not movable right now. But you can change your internal world. You can change your internal world, and to recognize that there is some sort of stability and authority that you can cultivate within yourself, and you can change your attitude and your emotions around what is happening. Because I did also get the 2 of Cups, and in this tarot deck it's called love. And even in the Rider-Waite, it's about 2 people bringing their cups together. This is about, to me, this could be about finding right partnership. And that could be business partnership. You could meet a person or people who you really connect with. You know, because of all this work that you're doing around myself, about who am I, how do I want to express myself, and also changing my attitude to being more authoritative, being a leader in my life and in my emotions, rather than falling and succumbing to them. And what this allows you is a greater sense of emotional connection to other people, and to finding, like, this, I feel like this, yes, this could be like finding a partner, totally finding someone that you feel very synchronous with, or a business partner that you feel that way about. But why do I feel like, because the 8th house is indicated here too, so you know, you got to think about that. But why do I feel like for you guys this is more about community? This is more about finding the friends. This is more about finding the organizations, the groups, the networks, the communities that are supporting you, rather than just like one person. You know, I mean, Pisces is a universal sign. No matter how great their relationship is, a healthy Pisces recognizes that there needs to be some contact with the outer world, with the universe in some way. So whether that's through meditation and spirituality, but a lot of you guys, like, community is really important for you, actually. Just something to think about. Yeah, let me see if there's any final messages for my Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The Hierophant. Wow, this card has come up, I think, 3 or 4 times in this reading. And another major arcana for you guys. I feel like for some of you Pisces, there is a sense that, and I got this card for Aquarius, and I feel very similarly about you guys, is like, you've been trying to adhere to a certain structure. But for you guys, I feel like it's within... You've been trying to adhere to a certain structure within your way of expressing yourself with your creativity. The 5th house, I keep talking about expressing yourself because I feel like that's really big, but it also has to do with creativity and joy and pleasure and romance and love. And you've been trying to adhere to a certain way of doing this. And I think that you're recognizing that it's not working anymore, and that you need to build new structures and new traditions. And really, because this full moon is so deeply about the 2nd house for you guys, it is like, I feel like when you start recognizing that the way that you are in this world, the way that your creativity presents itself, the way that you show yourself to other people, and the way that you have fun and enjoy your life, the more that you recognize that it doesn't need to adhere to certain structures, I think the more that it's not even just about finding your right community, because this card is telling me that maybe it's actually also the key to unlocking the material prosperity that you're looking for. You've been working within these structures that aren't you. And, you know, like I've said before, Pisces is very nebulous. There's a lack of boundaries with Pisces a lot of times. Not always. And Saturn is defining these boundaries. And so I'm feeling like you guys that's giving you the strength to be able to express yourself in a way that is more congruent to who you actually are. And so look at Saturn in your first house like that. Okay, I know it can feel very somber a lot of times having Saturn in the first, and a lot of delays and restrictions, but I feel like it's because it's wanting you to have the strength to really be you. And that is going to open up community, and that is going to open up finances for you. And when I see the 8th house indicated in the financial aspect, it tells me that even during this time, it's like you could be, if you're a creative in nature, or you have a creative idea that you want to start making money on, you could be getting this change that's happening in you, that's allowing yourself to express yourself more freely. It may increase your income, and it also just may increase like other people supporting you financially and as a network. A lot of messages there for my Pisces. Let me know how that resonates for you guys, and make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.